Salutations, guys, gals, and non-binary pals. This is Starlight, and tonight I am going to be doing something a little different. I am going to be commentating / reacting to a video posted by a fellow by the name of Seiryo Tennan, a fellow Shadowverse content creator who has created his own. The title of this video is Official Shadowverse Story Character Tier List. Now, I started watching this video, and just within the first couple of minutes, I already realized, oh, I have some opinions about this. And I think, actually, before I watch the rest, I think it would be funny, / good content if I actually did a full live reaction / commentary to the tier list. So I asked Seiryo Tennan if that was alright, and I got his okay. So I will put a link to his original video in the description, so you can go and like the video and subscribe to him and all of that good stuff. Thank you to Seiryo Tennan for letting me do this. And tonight we are going to find out if his tier list, his Shadowverse story character tier list, is cursed or based. Let's get started.
Guys, it's your boy here again, Dean, and it's tier list time. That's right, but it's not just any tier list today. It's something I've been wanting to do a lot, which is a little bit of Shadowverse story content, because I love the digital game and I just want to share that love with you guys. And so if you guys haven't played the Shadowverse,
me too, man, me too,
story, click away now, because it is there's gonna be a lot of spoilers in this video, but we're gonna be ranking every single character that appears in the story, even a lot of really meme ones. We're gonna put them on this tier list. We're gonna be talking about them, so let's get into it. We're gonna start with the main cast. Okay, so first up we have is Erica. Erica is a solid F tier character. She's
we got an Erica hater. Oh no.
Awful. One of the worst characters in the story, if you had to ask me. She starts off and she is like the princess's right-hand man. She goes around, she's like supposed to be the bodyguard, but she also kills people in the name of like the army that the princess...
She's the princess's bodyguard / personal assassin is what he's getting at here.
That will not be named because she doesn't actually have a name. They didn't really care about names back then. Her personality...
Yeah, they didn't even give her a name after we got to the Missing Star chapter. Which is a little funny. They just kept her as the nameless princess of Alistair.
She's very abrasive and untrusting, and because she kills people as a job, she is quick to just attack people. Everyone in the main cast is an enemy, and multiple times in the story, and it's very upsetting when you're like pretty deep in the story. You're on like the 4th different iteration of this. The story's been going on for 3 years, and Erica's still just like turning on her allies because of something. Like somebody says like something slightly wrong, and she's like, yeah, that's it, we're done, we're gonna throw hands. And she doesn't really resolve that. She resolves it a bit by the end, but she was kind of just an awful person for way too long to ever be redeemed in my eyes, and so she goes in F tier.
So okay, here's the thing about Erica. When I did, like I said, I did pre-watch a little bit of this and already immediately had some opinions. Of course, have them about Erica, because here's the thing. What he's talking about is, yes, in the beginning of the story, Erica's a piece of shit. She's awful. She is terrible. Like, you understand why she is that way because of how she was raised. She was raised as an assassin. She was taught to not trust people. She was taught to, kill or be killed. That sort of attitude. And that, just made her not a very good person. And so she's very hostile, and she acts that way pretty much out the entirety of Guild Wars, the 1st and 2nd arcs, Morningstar and Guild War. But here's the thing. She gets character development really, really quickly. Like, she gets over that and gets better, like, right after Guild War. Like, as soon as you get to Natera, like, her character development starts going full force. And she redeems herself so much by the end of the arc. She becomes a much better person. She becomes more trusting. She becomes much more of someone who believes in and relies on their allies and trusts them. And I can understand the dislike for Erica prior to that character development, but it's just like, I feel like they're just completely ignoring how she changes the character, because she does. She becomes so much better after just the first arc, which was only like, so, like, the first 2 arcs probably together are probably like maybe 2 years. So, because it had to be like at least 3 years into the game when we got to Terra, right? I don't remember the exact time frame, but I can understand disliking Erica, but like, to still hate her for all of that stuff, like, before her character development, that just seems so unfair. So, I really, really have to disagree here. I love Erica's character development. I love the way she does go from a pretty hateable character to someone that, you know, learns and gets better, and honestly, I really like her by the end. Like, he mentions, oh, by the end she gets better, but it happens so much sooner than he's giving it credit for. Because it's really only the first 2 arcs, which aren't that long, especially compared to some of the others, before she really starts to hit her stride and change. So, gotta respectfully disagree here, man. You can, I'm sad you're still holding a grudge against Erica for that, because she gets so much better.
Next up is Isabelle. Isabelle also goes in F tier because holy sh**.
What? How does anyone hate Isabelle? This guy might be the first, This guy might be the first Isabelle hater that I have actually seen. Isabelle is popular, and not just for her looks. Like, okay, I'll hear him out. I'll hear him out.
Shit, I hate Kyle. Shut up about Kyle. Isabelle is a mage in her world, and she has a boyfriend named Kyle. Kyle dies at the beginning, and she just never stops talking about Kyle. You get at the end of the arc, it feels like she resolved the thing about Kyle, because Kyle's ghost says, Isabelle, you know, maybe you should forgive people. I'm gone.
Yeah.
And then she immediately, the second arc happens, and the entire arc about her, most of her dialogue revolves around Kyle and...
What? No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. If he's talking about Guild War, he has to be talking about Guild War. She never mentions Kyle in Guild War. She never brings him up directly. What is this guy talking about?
Overcoming the grief, and then the third thing comes up, and then Kyle is still the point of her character.
She's still, again, no. No, she's not. No, she doesn't. So the only time after the first arc, after Morningstar, the very first arc, the only time Kyle ever comes up again is when it's relevant. Yeah, like, only when it's relevant. And other than that, she never directly brings him up or talks about him. What Isabelle's story is in Guild Wars and after is completely unrelated, because it's all of her, because what it is her bonding with Eleanor, where they never really talk about Kyle. Her bonding with Tetra, they never talk about Kyle. It's like, sort of, at most, it's occasionally, like, offhandedly mentions when it's relevant, when the point it's like, when the topic is like, when Isabelle has to talk about, yes, I've dealt with a great loss in my life, and I'm now working to overcome the grief. Yes, this is true for the first arc, but it's literally only the first arc. What is this guy on about?
And so you're just like, wow, it's been, once again, like 3 years of story.
It was 1 year! The first arc was, okay, technically it was 2, because the story was, it was like a year, no, it was a year and a half, because we got into Guild War, what was it? Like the beginning of 2017. Game launched in summer 2016. We got Portalcraft at the end of the first arc in December of 2017, and then it was the beginning of 2017 we got Guild War. So it was a year and a half that we had to hear Isabelle not shut up about Kyle. But that was it. That was it, my dude.
And I'm still hearing about Kyle, and I didn't care about Kyle.
No, you're not!
Kyle was in the story for about 5 minutes. He was a center point, but like he was not like a real character, so we didn't get to see Kyle. He just kind of died, and then the story was over. But you had to hear about Kyle for 3 years. You had to hear about him.
No, you didn't. You had to hear about it for a year and a half. If you played the story all as it was releasing over the course of the entire like 7 years that the Shadowverse story released. It was a year and a half, and less than that if you came into the game any time later and just got through the whole arc and just got through the whole first arc at once. Again, yeah, I agree with you, Flair. I have so many questions. Like, I think this dude has somehow gaslit himself into thinking that Isabelle still talks about Kyle the way she does in the first arc in all of the others, because she doesn't. She absolutely does not. I don't even think he's mentioned by name after Morningstar. I will have to go. I'm you know what? I think I'm gonna, after this, I am gonna go and rewatch all of Isabelle's parts from everything after Morningstar. So her entire campaign and arc in Guild War, in Eilon, and all of that, and see if Kyle is ever even mentioned by name, because I don't think he is. I think this dude has just been severely gaslit. I am so sorry, man. I don't know what to tell you. You're just wrong.
Certified most important character in the story. Next up is...
But yeah, no, I freaking love Isabelle. This is so unfair to her. I don't know how he got this idea that she still continues going on about Kyle after the first arc, because that is completely untrue.
Luna is a solid A tier. She's just a cute girl by the end. The beginning, she's a little fucked up. She was like this little rich noble girl with some magic powers, and one day her parents are attacked by a burglar. The burglar kills both of her parents, and she uses her magic to revive them as like spooky, scary skeletons. Those are the skeletons behind her and all of her art. And then, you know, because she's got skeletons around her and her parents have died, she's like a little insane. And people are afraid of her, and then she just starts going, yeah, I can just kill people because, like, who cares? And but eventually, Nicola goes, hey, kid, you kind of fucked up. Maybe you should be a little bit better. And he really treats her as, like, a person, so then you get a little bit of character growth from her, where she starts to just become a kid, and then you see, like, more of her being just, like, more of a kid with Ania. So she actually had some pretty stable and linear character growth that I really did enjoy, and then at the end she was just a cute girl. So Luna, good character, love her, A tier.
Win take, yes, first W take. Luna is great for all the reasons he mentioned. A tier is probably what I would put her to if I were rating characters like this, and rating them in this sort of way. That's also a thinker I'd put Luna. She's a great character with a lot of good character development and stellar performance and voice work. In both languages. Both Yui Ogura and Brianna Knickerbocker do a bang-up job delivering the emotional moments with Luna. Like, it doesn't even seem like they're acting. Like, it really just feels like a devastated, crying child. Especially in the early arcs where Luna's, like, going through all of the trauma. And, dang. Yeah, cannot sing both them enough praises. Just spectacular work.
Next up is Aris. Aris goes in D tier. They didn't know what they were doing with this character.
Okay, I'll hear him out.
So Aris is like the Pope, I think. She had clones, but the clones disappeared, so I don't know if those were shadow clones. I don't know if there were multiple Arises. I don't really know what was going on.
So what was going on was Nexus made copies of her. It is still... Unfortunately, it was never perfectly clear why Nexus made copies of her. That was kind of something that was never explained. For some reason, Nexus just decided to make copies of her to go around, and I don't really even know what their purpose was. Aeris' story is one of the weirder ones in the early campaign. The Flare says, I think Aris used to work for Nexus. Yes, so Aeris' whole story is, she starts out as a villain. Is actually the priestess who summons Nexus. So, because she's, like, all depressed about the suffering of the world and wants to, like, free the world from suffering, so she prays to whatever deity out there will listen to come and save her world. And, unfortunately, the deity that hears her is Nexus. So Nexus hears this, gets summoned to Alistair, resulting in the Morningstar and all of that. Aeris, and for some reason then forgets that she was the person who summoned Nexus, and Nexus has all these clones of her that are running around during her campaign. And then by the end of the campaign, Aeris gets her memories back, and remembers that she's supposed to be working for Nexus, and then she goes into everybody's dream world, and I am still unsure what the point of all of that happening in Aeris' campaign was. Like, if I had a genuine complaint about Aeris, it's just like, what the hell even was her campaign in the first chapter? did any of this, what was the point of any of this? Aeris' campaign, like, doesn't have any kind of significance until you get to the part where they're all inside the Morningstar. So, but I don't think that's what this guy is talking about. We'll see. Let's let him continue.
I don't know. I actually don't. I could not tell you if she's even like human. I don't know if it's like the Shadow game and she's Shadow the Hedgehog with the clones or not. But yeah, she summoned Nexus. She summoned Nexus. And because she saw like a poor person once, she's like, what if nobody was poor and everyone was dead? And then the main cast said...
Okay, she saw a village get burned down. That's actually what happened. That was sort of like her straw that breaks the camel's back moment, or much more than a straw in this case. She saw a whole village get burned down, everybody died, and she's like, I have to pray to whatever deity will listen to come and save my world. And it ended up about as well as you'd expect.
Aris, it's a little fucked up, and she said, yeah, you're right. And then she just joined them, and then she doesn't really do anything. It feels like she just kind of like monitors the situation. I can't think.
Flair says the point of Aeris' campaign was to see everyone's dream sequences from her end and watch her realize that, hey, maybe she's the bad guy. Yes, that is the case, but that's not until like the second half of the campaign, once they're all inside the Morningstar. I meant before that. I have no idea what the purpose was before that. We kind of should have just started the campaign there, if I'm being honest. But, okay, let's let him continue.
Think of any, like, major conflict that's resolved by her. She's just kind of there when the hands get thrown. So, D tier, she doesn't really bring anything to the table. Next.
Wait, what do you mean? That's it? Like, that's all? Bro, are you forgetting that Aris then goes through, like, her whole arc initially in Morningstar is she realizes, yes, she's the bad guy. She switches sides because she doesn't want to be the bad guy. She's not actually a bad person. She joins the heroes and is, like, a villain on a redemption arc, basically. And so she goes through, so then she meets Marlone in Isunia, and they go through a whole arc, and that's really good. And then, you know... Flair says yes, he forgot everything after Guild Wars, remember? It seems like he did in a lot of respects, unfortunately. Because also, one of my favorite parts of Aeris' story, just overall, is her in Natera. Bro forgot that she is the person who figures out the entire history of Natera and why Mamna is upset and going to destroy the world. And it starts to come up with a plan of, like, what to do that isn't just, you know, Baleon and Valdane having their little bitch fight. Having their little bitch slap fest. So, yeah, he's definitely not giving Aris enough credit. I really love Aris and her character development. The way she basically is a redeemed villain, goes from a bad guy to a hero to actually being pretty important, because, again, without her, nobody would have figured anything out in Natera at all. We would have all just fucked around Natera not knowing what to do, and it's only because of Aris that it's like, hey guys, I actually know how to stop the apocalypse. I know why Mom is angry. I know why Mom's gonna destroy us all, and now we can come up with a plan.
Next up is Orisa, and she's the face of Shadowverse. And you know what? She goes S tier on the tier list.
Yes, W. Yeah, that's a W. Arisa is most definitely S tier, for sure.
I swear to God, nobody else in the story is functioning. Everyone else is non-functioning, except for Orisa. She is the glue that holds everyone together. I wouldn't
say the latter. The former I disagree with. The former I disagree with. The latter I absolutely agree with. She's the heart. She is the glue.
She was the, what was it? They were like forest rangers or something. The forest protectors.
Forest guardians. He's close.
Her and Lazaria, and then when Aris summons Nexus, these like shades attack and they steal Lazaria.
Sorry, I shrink while I hydrate.
To become like a vessel, like think of like Fate, like where the Grail enters Ilia or something, or Ilia becomes the Grail. It's like that, where Lazaria becomes Nexus, and Arisa's like, I gotta go help get my friend back, and then she's the only person that's willing to like work with people, and she keeps a very positive attitude, and she just kind of like keeps going at it regardless of what comes up. So, you know, positive Genki girl, fantastic character, great voice actor. She calls Major Mouskers Major Fluffy Butt, 10 out of 10. Next up
10
is...
out of 10, our potato child, yes. Flair says, okay, fair take. I'd put her in A. She's a bit too generic, but yeah, without her, no one else gets anywhere. I actually would put in Orisa in S tier. I think she actually did a really good job of living up to her sort of accidental, or I don't know if it was accidental, if I don't know what was intended, but her sort of position as the closest thing Shadowverse has to a main protagonist, because technically Shadowverse has a lot of main characters. It doesn't really have a singular main protagonist, but if it has one that's like the closest thing to that is Arisa, and I think she does a really good job with that. She starts out as, I think she also does get really good character development, where she starts out, you know, as someone who doesn't really believe in herself, who's really, you know, kind of just living in the shadow of Lusaria. You know, she's comparing herself to Lusaria. She doesn't think she can, you know, be, you know, a hero on her own. But she learns to be just as awesome, if not more awesome than Lusaria is, like, on her own. And become, like, a really cool and powerful hero, while also just, like, not really changing as a person, though. But, like, I mean, in terms of, like, personality, she's still very positive, she's still very friendly, she, you know, she sees a lot of horrible things happen, and goes through a lot of, like, tough stuff, and difficult experiences, but she's still, like, a happy and positive and friendly person who also just becomes, like, stronger and more mature, and I just really love Orisa. I think she's great, and she's setting a, I gotta say, Drazon has some big shoes to fill for Worlds Beyond, because Arisa's gonna be a lot to live up to.
Is Euan is sick.
Oh, yes! Okay, yes. This I'm 100% behind. Euan S tier for sure.
The Shadowverse story is pretty big, right? It's got a lot of things going on. They go between worlds. There are these world-ending beings called...
Matter Batter says, she's like Luffy. She brings together extraordinary people with the core of her personality is unchanged. Exactly! Me and I only know One Piece from cultural osmosis, but even know what I do know about it, I can agree with you on that.
Keepers, and Euan is from a different world than the main cast, where he is fighting a different keeper than the one that they're fighting, because they're fighting Nexus, who was just summoned to their world. And his entire thing is he's like, I'll help you kill your big bad if, like, you can help me get to my big bad, because I need to like lay some smackdown on her. So he just comes.
Well, it's yes and no. So Euan is looking to get revenge on Nerva, but he's generally just out to get keepers in general. So he's totally down with, you know, helping the Alistair group, you know, save their world from Nexus, because he's, you know, all the keepers are his enemies, not just Nerva, but yeah.
Comes around, he's a badass. He 10 out of 10 character. Great VA. Next up is Urias.
Agreed there too. Love me some Keith Silverstein. I do love Euan. The only thing is, I wish he had a little bit more focus, because I feel like out of the whole original 8, I feel like he gets the least amount of screen time and the least amount of, like, not relevance to the story, but like, he doesn't have his campaign in the first chapter is really short, because it's really just like a little it's just like a little thing to lead into the second chapter. And then he has a campaign in Guild War, and he has one in Eilon, Gears of Rebellion. And then after that, we never really get much, we really don't get any focus on him again. We see him again when he meets up with Itsurugi, like way later, and again during the very final arc, but I do feel like he ended up with the least focus out of all of the original 8. To the point where his backstory, like, a lot of people, like, don't even seem to be aware of his backstory, which is that he was a king or a prince, a royal of some sort. I don't remember if it was a king or a prince, it was one of those two, of a world that was going through a bad time, and Euan wanted to be a good king or prince or whatever and save his world. And so, sort of like Aris, he called out to whoever would help him, and Nerva was like, okay, I'll help you. I'll get rid of all the suffering in your world by just deleting the world in general. Boom, it's gone. Poof, it's gone. And that naturally pissed off Euan quite a lot. So that's his whole deal, and why he's such an edgy vengeance guy. But what I really like about Euan, even though he is kind of an edgy vengeance guy, he's also very traditionally heroic. Like, he's a good person who wants to help people, and is just generally, like, just nice and chivalrous, and I think that's demonstrated really well with his interaction with Itsurugi, and also, I think the best Euan content that we get is his campaign in Gears of Rebellion with him and J2. I think that's a campaign or part of the story that a lot of people forget about, and I think that's kind of sad because I really like that part of the story. We really get a good look into the kind of person that Euan is, and you know how he's not just the I will have revenge guy. There is more to him than that. But I think a reason a lot of people do forget that is because he kind of ended up the least focused on out of the original cast. So. But all the more reason I'm glad that despite that, Seiryo recognizes that how awesome he is and puts him in S tier. So good on him.
Yes, Urias is best explained as Yujiro Hanma. I'm going to put him in A tier. Just
okay,
think of like
fair.
what Yujiro does in Baki, or just any one of those cocky characters, like a Vegeta type character. He's there, but he usually doesn't resolve the fight. He could resolve the fight. He often has the capability to, but like, why would he? He just kind of goes around. He attacks the good guys. He attacks the bad guys. He doesn't care. His entire thing is he's a vampire. It's like backstory. He's a vampire, but he's the last vampire because he killed all the other vampires. And then like 100 years ago, he fought Erica's princess's dad, whose name is Balthazar.
Okay. Balthazar wasn't the princess's dad. He's like a very distant ancestor. He's like her. She's like the princess of the current princess of Valsir is like Balthazar's like great granddaughter or something like that. Balthazar is from a long time ago. So.
And then Balthazar was very tenacious, and Urias thought, "Whoa, this guy's fighting for his life. That's pretty cool. I like that he's fighting." And then Urias just kind of let Balthazar beat him, and he went to sleep for 100 years, and then he came back up, and he's like...
more than 100 years, more like 1,000 years. Urias is like at least 1,000 years old. He's old. He's an old man.
Oh, Nexus sounds strong. She's a god. I'll go fight her. So that's kind of like where his place in the story is. He's chaotic neutral. He just kind of walks around, and then he doesn't really resolve anything, but he's sick. So 10 out of 10. Next up is...
I agree. Yeah. Urias is just a BAMF, just a BAMF from start to finish. We love Urias. We love that he is pretty much the guy who he does sort of end up getting character development, but he was the guy who didn't really need it because he's the guy who actually had his shit figured out from the beginning. So a lot of what Urias does kind of pretty much before he meets Mono and he starts to get like a little bit of character development is mostly telling other people, particularly Rowan, to get his shit together. Because he's very old and he's, actually pretty smart, and yeah, he's not just obsessed with fighting. He's actually very, very smart and practical. So that's something that's really cool about Urias, and this is why he's, such a favorite, is because not only is he just a total badass, he's also very smart and helps other people. Even though he doesn't really, he's kind of the guy who you realize you don't think he would actually care about other people's problems, but he kind of does, because other people getting their shit together means he has more other tough and smart people to fight. I think that's his line of logic. It's like, well, if I help this person, they might actually become a worthy opponent for me one day. So it's a little bit self-serving, and also like it's kind of good in his own little weird, Urias kind of way. If that makes sense. But yeah, we love Urias. I don't know why Ray hates Urias. I'll never understand her Urias hate. We love our sexy Spanish vampire. He's the best.
is Rowan. I think Rowan's a C tier. Rowan is the captain of the platoon that Kyle was from, and they were on a hunt to kill a dragon, and then they kill the dragon, but the dragon possesses Rowan or curses him or something, and now Rowan turns into the dragon, but he can't control himself, so he goes and kills Kyle. He kills a couple other people, I think, but they don't matter. Only Kyle matters in the story. And once that happens, he starts to freak out because he doesn't, like, you know, he doesn't want to kill his family. He doesn't want to kill, like, other people around him. So he tries to keep his power in check. And then eventually he gets called a bitch enough times, and then he learns to control his powers, and then he
called a bitch enough times, specifically by Urias.
Becomes the dragon, and then they write him out of the story. So I feel like he had an okay arc, but
he's not written out. They just kind of, like, after Invasion of the World Reaver, they just don't become the main characters anymore. They're just like they become like, you know what I mean if you played the story. They're just not the central focus main characters anymore. They're still around, but they've just taken a backseat to other folks and other places and stories in the other worlds in the story.
A lot of it was just him being like, I cannot unleash the dragon within. So, kind of C tier. And that's the main cast. So now...
Yeah, so I understand for a lot of people, Rowan is just kind of there. I admit Rowan grew on me a lot throughout the course of the story. In no small part thanks to his voice actor, Joe Giega. I don't know how much my love of Rowan increased thanks to Joe Giega. I would say not an insignificant amount, but I do think Rowan is just kind of... yeah, he's also a guy whose kind of character is very cut and dry, I would say. You know, he has a very specific, you know, progression of his character that's, you know, really easy to see, like, where it starts and where it ends up. He doesn't have a whole lot of things that make him... I don't want to say unique, but he's just like, that's kind of his thing. It's just, he's like a normal guy, and he's faced with this situation where he has to, you know, change and have this arc in order to achieve what he needs and wants to achieve. And other than that, is just honestly kind of a normal person, so much of a normal person that it's a little bit to his detriment. A lot of people can just see Rowan as boring, and I understand that. I don't dislike him for that. I just think that, yeah, compared to other characters, he is a lot more just cut and dry. He's just a nice guy. He's just a family man. He has his arc, and that's about it. Rowan is a character that I think most of us like, we just don't love. So I think C tier is pretty fair. I'd probably put him in B, maybe just because of Joe Giega. But yeah, I think C is pretty fair. Rowan is a very mid kind of character. I feel like that's saying kind of a bad thing to say about him, but know that it's not. I don't mean that as a bad thing. He's just kind of the normal guy. So
it's time to get into the other characters. Like I said, there's gonna be a long video, guys. It's gonna be a long one. Next up is Ania. Ania is a solid A tier. She is a robot girl. In this arc, there's Mono, Tetra, Ania. And they're Baphomet's creations. And they're like sentient robots that are just trying to fight for their freedom, but she's closer to Luna, and that she's like basically just a kid and not really, like, she's not really spearheading any resistance. She's just kind of a kid, and then it's like her and Luna, and it's like helping Luna like learn to become a kid again. So pretty fun character overall. I think solid A tier. Next up is Asher.
Very fair. I think that he summed up what's good about Luna's character pretty nicely. I think Luna, personally, I think she's the least interesting of the three Robo Sisters. That said, she's not bad at all. In no universe do I dislike her. She is one of my robot daughters. But yeah, she just has like the least going on compared to the other two, because she is just a kid, and I think her main purpose in the story is to be like a friend for Luna and help her, like, you know, reconnect to another kid her own age and form a relationship with another person, another kid. And yeah, what he said basically. So fair placement. I would maybe put her in B, but yeah, a lot of folks like Ania. I understand why. I just think she's just, you know, she's the most cut and dry of the Ropa sisters. She has a role. She does it. She has a, what Matter Matter says. She has a role. She does it great.
Asher was pretty, he's kind of like Aris in that he doesn't himself do much. He's just in the story to die. He's a,
that's so mean. Bro, why you gotta do our boy Asher like that?
A young kid from a village that finds this girl and then says, I'm gonna help you find your home or something, and then he dies because he's not actually human, he's actually a monster or something, and then you find out that the girl that was traveling with him was actually just like batshit insane.
What? Elena's not insane. If anything, she... What? That's a very... That's not how I would describe Elena, but okay.
But like he himself was pretty damn generic. He was like definitely an insane.
She's a little Delulu. Yes, true. I wouldn't call... Yeah, that's a better... That's, wow. Yeah, I wouldn't call her crazy, but she is a little Delulu. That's fair. That's a fair assessment.
Mainly generic character, which I think he was supposed to be, so... Yeah, D tier, not very interesting, but like he served his purpose in the story. He wasn't bad. Next character...
I kind of have to agree. I don't dislike Asher, but kind of like Ania, he has a specific role and purpose that he serves in the story, and he does it very, very well. But other than that, that's just kind of his whole thing. And for that, honestly, I put him more of a C for that, because honestly, I think pretty much when Asher dies is just like one of the most, just that moment in the story is just so powerful. Like between him and Elena, it's that arc, that scene, like Asher realizing that he's actually just a human turned into a monster, and Elena, what happens with Elena as a result of that, him and Elena as a result of that, that's one of the things that makes Whispers of Purgation like one of the best parts of the entire story, the whole entire game story. So because of that, I would put him a little higher than that, but I understand and do kind of agree with this assessment that Asher has a very specific role that he fills, and that's about it.
There is Castell. Oh, Castell was pretty D tier. If she wasn't cute, she would be F tier, but she's kind of cute.
If she wasn't cute, she would be F tier. You know what? I have to agree. I'm sorry, Castell. I'm sorry, Castell.
She's atrocious. I actually don't even know. Like, maybe she should be F tier, but there's like definitely worse things than Castell. She is Verdelia's sister from the forest. She's this shy little girl, and Verdelia is like, she's kind of like Lazaria, where I don't think she got a keeper's power, but she got like the power of like the forest god, like the god of a world, not like a dimensional god.
Yeah, he's talking about Verdelia getting the power of the goddess of cycles, which is a god that they had a village in the forest that worshipped a goddess of time, and Verdelia basically absorbed that goddess and took her powers. So.
And then Castell randomly gets the power of one of the big dimensional keeper gods and is secretly insane and evil or something. And it was... I don't actually remember like fully what was going on there. I just know that they're randomly like...
I don't blame you, man. Lane Crest was a mess.
So, were you brainwashed? She's like, no, I was just kind of insane the entire time. It was pretty mid-reveal because like nothing... Once the end of the Academy arc was very good, but the very end it was a little whack, so...
Half agree. The beginning of Lane Crest is very good. So Verdelia's campaign, and then it's really just Verdelia's campaign. The other three character campaigns aren't even really campaigns. They're just like additions onto Verdelia's campaign. The lessons from Lane Crest chapter, that's good. The lessons from Lane Crest Testament chapter, absolute trash. Just terrible. Just absolutely terrible. And I think Castell was a victim of that. the same way most of the Lane Crest characters are. Like, the fact Castell actually was insane and evil and, you know, is genuinely a villain, like, that could have been really interesting. If Lessons from Lane Crest Testament was not awful, the whole thing with Castell actually being genuinely evil and crazy could have been really good and interesting, but it falls so flat because that whole thing was just a disaster and a mess. And as a result, Castell, like, gets forgiven way too easily. They treat her like this child is not okay. This girl murdered her parents and her entire village.
Editor Starlight here. Since recording this, my good friend Regulus, who's another awesome Shadowverse content creator you should follow, informed me that Castell is not as awful as I thought, because she did not actually murder her entire village, she only killed her parents. Which is still pretty bad, but yeah, Seiryo is not the only one who was gaslit, apparently. For some reason, I thought she was way worse than she actually is. Sorry about that.
She is, and then after Verdilia, like, saves her from Nerva, it's treated like a slap on the wrist. She didn't even have Nerva's powers. It's like they established, oh yeah, Castell, even before she got Nerva's powers and went super duper omega crazy, she was already crazy and murdered her parents and the whole village. Does anybody seem to care about that? No. Castell needs to be locked away. Castell is not okay. Castell is a disaster in much the same way Lane Crest itself is. Oh dear. Maybe this is too much of a can of worms. Maybe we should just move on.
I feel like Castell was just kind of like a D-tier villain. It wasn't much build up to her being the villain, and then it was a little whack when she was.
It was very whack. It was whack. It could have been good, but it was just whack and not well executed at all. Oh dear. Rest in peace, Lane Crest. You died for Worlds Beyond.
Next up is Amaryllis. I put Amaryllis in like A or S. I think I liked her with Lilith a lot. Amaryllis is this like girl that was cursed. She was put in a book, and she couldn't escape the book unless somebody.
In the chat, Better says Yandere Castell is generally the only Yandere I enjoyed. She's so over the top. Flair says this guy gets it. Castell is a horrible character, but holy shit, it was funny. It's funny in how much of a absolute disaster the story is, but also not, because I would rather the story be good than be so bad it's good. But you know, to each their own.
Buddy defeated the dragon is supposed to be like Rapunzel. It was like Rapunzel was basically the story. Somebody had to come defeat the dragon and then rescue her, and until they could, she was just kind of there, and then once she got out, she was just like this. She was a pretty funny character. You got to actually play the story to appreciate her dialogue with Lilith. It's solid S tier for me. Very enjoyable.
Is he pronouncing Lyle's name Lilith? Oh no. Bro, it's Lyle. It's not Lilith, it's Lyle. Or Lyle if you're in Japan.
Whenever she was on the screen, I was pretty happy. Let's go up next is Annie Sage.
But yeah, Amaryllis is very funny. After she like joins the class and becomes like one of Verdilia's students. Yeah, because the Amaryllis is really funny. I enjoy her a lot of a character. I don't know if I'd put her in S tier, but she's high up there. She's a very fun and entertaining character who, like all the other Lane Crest characters who I like, got just done dirty by just Lane Crest. Just Lane Crest.
Annie Sage is solid D tier for me. Annie Sage is Frankenstein. She's in the Empyrean Inn, which is the part of the story where people go to purgatory for a while until they can like sort out all of the shit that happened to them in the real life. But while they're in the purgatory in the Empyrean Inn, they lose their memories, and like she was just Frankenstein, and then, you know, people treated her like a monster, so she wanted to forget that.
Not quite. When you go to a Mechchi, you lose your memory memories, you specifically lose memories of bad experiences. And because that was a bad experience, she ended up forgetting that. It's actually kind of the opposite, because once she gets those memories back, she's like, oh, I'm glad I remembered this, because it was important, and it's important for me to be going back to my world moving forward, to know what happened. So it's the opposite, actually. She wanted to remember that.
But then at the end, she's like, okay, I want to face myself. But overall, I just felt like she's like a pretty quiet character, so she's not very interesting on that front as well. Pretty D tier for me. Next.
So what bothers me about Anastasia is that I really like her, but she's completely irrelevant after her campaign, which is a problem that it also exists to an extent with all of the other MHG characters that aren't Takatsumi or Itsurugi. Pretty much after her campaign, you could write her out the story and pretty much nothing would change. She doesn't really have an important role or a role whatsoever in Period and Last Resort. Mizuchi and Silong kind of do. Anastasia just doesn't really at all, unfortunately. So she's kind of what's the best. That's not the thing is, though, despite that, Anastasia's campaign itself I really, really like because of how good of a foil she is to Saito. So what I think is the best part about Anastasia's character is her whole, I don't want to say rivalry, but like I feel like Anastasia's campaign is really like more like her and Saito's campaign, in terms, like, almost thematically, because it's kind of about how their worldviews contrast each other, and she proves him, and how she proves him wrong, and how he kind of helps her overcome certain things to kind of move forward on her own. So that's actually why I really like Anastasia's campaign, and thinks that she actually helps Saito be a much better character than I think he otherwise would be without them having that whole dynamic. But one of the big issues with MHG is the fact that pretty much by you get to the end of the campaigns themselves are really just the only point where the characters other than Itsurugi and Takatsumi really matter, because yeah, you have Anastasia, Mizuchi, and Silong fighting Mahisha, but like then that's it, and that doesn't really contribute to the MHG story like overall, if that makes sense. So like Anastasia, I wish she was more relevant to the overall story of MHG.
Next up is Bunny. I put Bunny in B tier. I think Bunny's like a B tier character.
Boo. Bunny is S tier for me, but you know how I feel about the Revale characters, so. Part
of Bunny and Baron, a group of outlaws in Revale, which is like a cowboy area of the story. She's definitely like the weaker of the two, I think. She's like the hyperactive girl that's like the trigger.
B for Bunny, okay, fair.
Happy. I kind of like the more like cool, silent type, like Baron. I think Baron's A tier, almost S tier actually. Yeah, the two of them, like I said, group of bandits.
I can get behind that.
But Baron is definitely set out. He's a little more focused on what he's trying to do. Bunny's just along for the ride. Baron works for Not Not, but he's also trying to kill Not Not. He doesn't like that she exists. He kind of just, you know, he wants like nobody in control. He's like the anarchist of the world.
Well, that's where he starts out. He doesn't really, that's not really how he ends up, though. That's where he starts, but then, character development.
Pretty cool character. Pretty sick VA. A lot of the Revale characters are going to be placed highly just off of their voice acting alone, and because Revale was a great part of the story. Next up is...
I feel like Bunny and Baron are so important to each other's characters that you can't really separate them. I'm sort of surprised that he did. But because personally, I adore Bunny and Baron. I would have put them both in S tier, and I don't think you could really rate them differently because they are so important to each other's characters. They are very different kinds of people, but that's also like what's great about them and about their relationship and their character development is how, you know, Baron is this much more, they've been through similar kinds of trauma, but they deal with it in completely different ways. And honestly, I shouldn't even be talking about Bunny and Baron here because I will go on for hours. Oh my god, I could talk about any of the any single Reveal character for literally hours. So let's just move on. I'll just say I probably he seems to like Bunny and Baron, but not as much as me, which is fair because I don't think anybody likes Bunny and Baron as much as me.
Alucard, this guy's like pretty weak. He's like B tier for me. Alucard is a vamp.
Really? Bro. Alucard is like, he's not my favorite of the Velsar cast, but he's I don't know. I'm just gonna let him explain himself. What does he think about Alucard?
Pyre that in the Velsar arc remembers everything, because the Velsar arc is that the time keeps repeating because the god of the world had set out this like challenge for everyone to resolve, and that at a certain point the world like ends and then everything repeats, and he is the one person that consistently remembers like every single iteration of this world, and so he just keeps trying to get everyone to work together to overcome those trials. But he's like a little quiet. He's just a vampire, and I felt like everything in Velsar was like really weak. It was like weak. It was probably like one of the weakest parts of the story for me, probably because of the looping nature. It was like you see a character and then they like fail to do their thing and then they die, and then you see the character, they fail to do their thing and they die. And you know that when it's like that instead of like a much longer story, you kind of say, wow, this character's a little bit worse. Next up is
Matterbatter says he's kind of the archetypal time looper in their despair arc. That is true, but I think what makes Alucard so great for me is one, his voice acting. Zena Robinson kicked it out of the park. Alucard's performance is just incredible. Like, seriously, shout out to Zena Robinson. Incredible voice actor, did an amazing job with Alucard. So sad that most people know him for literally like any other role that he's ever had, when Alucard is one of his best. But what I think makes Alucard is the character development that he goes through. What a surprise. And how he goes from that time looper in the despair arc to, you know, having his faith restored and becoming very close and having like a found family with the rest of the Velsar gang, and you just really feel all of that, you know, everything from the despair to the renewed hope. All of that really does come through in the performance. Why I'm singing Zeno's praises. So that's what would put Alucard in like at least a solid A tier, at least for me. If this was my life, I think B is. You know what? I'll be fair. B is fine. B is fine. I would rank him higher though, just because, you know, you know how I am about the character development. You know I love me that character development.
Deerling or something. She's a cat girl. She's kind of hot. She doesn't do anything. C tier.
Her name is Gina.
She's kind of hot. That's the big thing. Cat girl. We like those. I literally can't tell you what she does. I don't even know what faction she's in. Next up is
She's part of Managarmr, which is Valdane's posse, army, whatever, his whole club in the Terra, and she's very sad because her sister died, and is mostly in Rowan's campaign in the Terra, and Rowan talks to, and then Rowan helps her like deal with her grief, from what I remember. Matterbatter says she's there to ramp. Yeah, she was a very good ramp card. But yeah, no, yeah, Gina is like much more of a minor character in terms of the Terra cast. Like, she didn't even have a card the first time around. She only got a card as of Renassa Chronicles. But I do like Gina. She's just, yeah, a very minor character. I can understand why Seiryo kind of forgot about her. I like her, but I understand people being like, oh yeah, I kind of forgot about her.
Cornelius. This guy was a C tier villain. He is the Academy.
Dude. Cornelius is an S tier villain in a D tier arc. That's the hill I will die on. But let's see what he has to say.
He's like the dean of the academy. He's like Dumbledore for Verdilia's arc, and he's a necromancer. I don't even think he's like explicitly evil. He kind of just is like willing to die. Even he just wants. Okay, he wants like the strong to come out of war. So he is like a warmonger, but he's not like a blatantly evil character. He's just kind of like a fucked up necromancer.
This is a base take, actually. Because in Lanecrest's story, Cornelius is a villain. He's an antagonist. But is Cornelius evil, though? I think he makes a good point. I think you could really much make an argument that he isn't. He's just very morally kind of fucked. Because warmongering, Flair says warmongering is evil last I checked. I mean, I guess. I guess, yeah, sure, okay, if we're gonna... But here's the thing, before he was the headmaster of Lanecrest, well, actually, I guess you kind of make an argument he was a war criminal then too, because he was a necromancer he was a general in the country of Lanecrest in their army, and he was necromancer, and he helped, the country of Lanecrest succeed in war because of his necromancy talents. Flair says, I'm 90% near search the evil daddy fetish speaking, and Matter says he's lawful evil. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Okay, I know I've been called out. I've been called out. Yeah, you're right. He's lawful evil.
He does like keep his wife. He has multiple wives, and he does keep. What? I think he has multiple wives. That's like part of it. But he if they die, he keeps them, right?
He had one wife. So he had one wife who was buried and is Lyell's mother, and then she died, and then he brought her back as a zombie for his undead army, as one does. And we discover that Lyell's mother was terminally ill, presumably before they got married. So the implication is Cornelius knew this woman was going to die. She was going to die within the next however, I don't know, many years. She was terminally ill. He decides to marry her so she can give him a kid, and then when she dies, she will become part of his undead army, which is all kinds of fucked up, but I'm here for it. Get you a man who will, when you die, will resurrect you for his undead army. Can't think of anything more romantic. Professor says you'd want to be one of those wives. I'd be one of those husbands, thank you. But, yeah, no, I understand this is completely just me being me talking, but, I saw nothing wrong with their arrangement, especially because I'm sure, like, Lyell's mom wasn't unaware of this. I'm sure she knew what she was getting into. As far as we know, this was a completely consensual outcome of, hey, we're gonna get married, and when you die, you're gonna be part of my undead army. And she's like, that's cool, man. Let's do it. So, I understand Lyell's mom. Other people might not, but I do. I get it.
I forget if he was killing them. He might have been killing them to like keep them as puppets. Or as necromancers, yeah.
He did not kill her. She died of completely natural causes.
I feel like he was like C tier though. He wasn't he was like a big bad, but he wasn't like very prevalent, and I feel like there's definitely like more insane people in the story, so I feel like he was kind of C tier, maybe like B tier, but C for me. But no, you know who's not C tier? Oh. No.
Oh, did he accidentally?
No, fuck.
He lost his tier list by accident. Oh no, Seiryo, I'm so sorry. That's what you get for putting Isabelle in F tier.
Hold up. That was truly the most tragic misclicks of all time, but after like 10 fucking minutes, I have finally resolved my issue. We are back, and we are going to get back into it. Okay, so next up is...
So I understand. Okay, just for the record, I understand his placement of Cornelius. I think that's fair. The issues with Lane Crest do extend to all of its characters, especially its protagonist. That said, Daddy Cornelius, please marry me and resurrect me as a zombie when I die. Thank you. Okay, let's move on.
Balthazar. This is the guy that Urias fought forever ago. Pretty D tier. His entire thing was just being a motive for Urias. And also at the beginning of the game, story kind of sucked. Because I don't think they really cared. I think Shadowverse wasn't supposed to last a long time, I've read before, where they thought the game would be over in 2 years, and so they definitely didn't
They didn't think the game would be over in 2 years. They just, what he's referring to is probably, so Shadowverse was originally was kind of experimental. It was like, we're just gonna make basically a Rage of Bahamut card game and just kind of see how it does. And we'll give it its own original story, because, like, hey, why not? And it was unexpectedly a huge success, especially the original story. So they decided, yeah, we're gonna keep this going. This is gonna be a good thing. Let's put more time and effort and money and everything into the story to really make that a huge part of the game. And so yeah, it was a bit of an experiment. Like, they just decided to just like make a Rage of Bahamut card game just to, why not? Let's just try it. And it unexpectedly ended up a big success, especially the story. So that's what happened there.
The most compelling story at the beginning, and it tells when you play through the story mode. The beginning gets a little rough, and then as you continue on, it gets a lot better. And so yeah, he's kind of D tier. He's just there to give Urias a backstory. Next up is Drock. This guy is in the Velsar arc, so the time loop thing.
Yeah, true. Balthazar's not really much of a character. He just kind of exists in Urias' backstory, and that's about it.
And he is this teenager that's trying to fill his dad's shoes, where I think his dad died. He was like the leader of the clan of dragon people. And
wasn't his father, it was his grandfather, wasn't it? Also, I don't think Drock is a teenager. I don't think Drock is a teenager. I think he's like just a young adult. Like early 20s. Granted, there's not a huge leap from that to teenager, but I actually don't think Drock is a teenager. I think he's a little older than that. And it was his grandfather who died, who was the head of the Dragonite clan, not his father.
He doesn't want to be chained down by responsibilities, typical teenager behavior. Pretty C tier, I think he is. He's not like... Do you like teen angst? That's the character. He ends up becoming better, right? It's like a mature, like a coming of age type thing. But I always find the starts of those are a little rough, and since you had to watch it on loop a bunch until he eventually, got his shit together, it was...
What do you mean? I mean, Velsar itself is looping, but you only had to play through the campaign once.
Pretty rough for me, so I'm gonna put him in C tier.
Yeah, Matterbatter says Drock has dumbass teen vibes, though. He does when he starts out. I love Drock as a character. I don't like his campaign. For kind of reasons that he just mentioned. It is a lot of Drock just being like, I don't know how to deal with the responsibility of leading a Dragonite clan, and angsting about it, and being a little bit insufferable because of that. There were people I know who hated Drock, like when all we had for him was his campaign. And then later, once we had the Velsar reconclusion and final loop, later loved Drock because of the character development that he got. So I love Drock for the character development and how he changes past his campaign in, like, the real part of the Velsar story. I almost feel like the actual character campaigns in Velsar are somewhat irrelevant. I think Drock's is like the most irrelevant. Sekka's is a little bit more, because I think that's more to... Sekka's is one of the better ones because it's more about how it kind of sets up more of her character and like kind of what kind of person she is, as opposed to like having any kind of... It ends up being more relevant to her character ultimately than I think Drock's is, because Drock is so... Like, Drock during his campaign and Drock during Final Loop is like night and day. It's so different. So, because of that, so he's viewing Drock through the lens of his campaign, which is weird, which not gonna lie is kind of weird, because most people after playing through Velsar Reconclusion and Final Loop, like, they completely forget about Drock's campaign, and they see Drock as the person he became, because the person he became was much better and more interesting. So, unusual take, but, I can understand, I guess I can kind of understand not liking Drock for where he started, but I think where he ended up was more important. So, yeah, I love Drock for the character that he is, not in his campaign, but for the other parts of the Velsar and overall Final Loop story.
Next up is Baphomet. Baphomet, sick.
Win, based, S tier, perfect, 10 out of 10, no notes. All is forgiven. All is forgiven. Let's hear him talk about why Baphomet is the best.
Baphomet is the robot overlord of, like, the robot girls, so Ania, Mono, Tetra. He created all of them and then, like, basically killed all the humans with his, like, robot army.
Oh, no, she didn't kill them all. He just, like... So there's still humans in Ylon. They're just, like, too afraid to do anything. As most humans probably would be. But no, there's still humans in Ylon. They're just, you know, oppressed by Baphomet's technocratic regime.
And now his robots are, like, conspiring against him, but he is the cocky badass. He has an insane voice actor.
In both English and Japanese. Love Chan Shiplock. Love, Hiroshi Kamiya. That's his name. You'd think I know that. He's one of my favorite Japanese voice actors, and yet for a second I forgot his name. Both Sean Shiplock and Hiroshi Kamiya, amazing performance. Belf is fantastic in both English and Japanese. I'm a little bit more partial to the English dub. Maybe again, because voice actor bias. I don't really want to say I know Sean Shiplock personally, but I'm he knows me. I am the one person in his community who's like, because like people in Sean Chiplock's community are like, oh, they're here because of like Subaru from ReZero or Rivali from Legend of Zelda, or maybe maybe Kiyotaka from Danganronpa. Me, I'm the guy who's there because of Baphomet Ardolite from Shadowverse. Like, nobody else in Sean's server, like, knows who Baphomet is other than me. So I'm the Baphomet guy. I'm the one who is there to love and appreciate Baphomet, and as a result, I've carved out that niche in Sean's community, and that's what Sean knows me for. He's made jokes about it on stream. This is kind of getting off on a tangent. I just realized. But, yeah, so, but yeah, because of my sort of personal attachment to Sean Chiplock and his community, I'm more partial to the English voice. But, Hiroshi Kamiya rules too. I friggin' love him. He's, also, Nozomu in Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei, and some other. He's definitely very good at playing lovably mentally unstable guys. If I had to typecast Hiroshi Kamiya, he's very, very good at playing characters like Baphomet, who are not okay, but very, very, very lovable and awesome and cool in their being completely batshit insane.
And he just basically wants to be God. He's like, hey Nerva, I'll work with you. But then he tries to just basically kill Nerva, and he's insane. He's great. He's a fun time. Absolutely great villain. The right level of crazy. Balion.
Perfectly based. Love it. Perfect.
Balion is he A tier or B tier? So he's voiced by whoever voices Garrett, and that's like +1.
Who's Garrett?
But his entire thing is he's the ruler of the forest or something, and I don't really remember enough I never remember thinking, whoa, Balion's on the screen. This is the good part of the story. I always went, wow, Balion's got a cool voice actor. So I'm going to put him in B tier. I think he's a pretty like vanilla character, and he's also like a lion man, which is like -1 point for being lion man. He is cool, but he's a lion man.
Why is that minus a point? I think it should be plus a point. Lion men are cool. Lion guys are awesome. Baleon is a furry. He's a furry hunk. He's like he's a furry dreamboat. We love to see it.
But +1 point for being voiced by Garen, so that's pretty badass. B tier.
I don't know who Garen or Garrett or whoever they're talking about is. Flair says Garen League of Legends, I believe. Are they voiced by Jameson Price? Because then that's who they're talking about, because Baleon is voiced by Jameson Price. I mostly know Jameson Price for Sojiro in Persona 5. Well, I've known him for a role that's not Baleon. So, but yeah, that's higher than I would have expected. A lot of people don't like Baleon. I like Baleon. I think he's a good character who serves his role very well, and I don't know. I like Lion Dad. He's a good guy. But yeah, a lot of people don't like Baleon. I think I like maybe Seiryo and I like Baleon more than most people, which is great. I'm all for that. But it seems like maybe Seiryo mainly likes him most for his voice actor, which is totally fair. Jameson Price is awesome. Infinity says, yeah, I looked it up. Garen from League of Legends. Okay. I've never played League, so no idea about that. But yeah, Jameson Price is very awesome. I do like Baleon. I think his whole... it was funny. I called him I said Valdane and Baleon have their little bitch fight throughout the entire Natera story. I said that, but it was. I really do think that the what's going on between Valdane and Baleon is actually legit pretty interesting, and I like how it ends up, and I like the way that in the end Baleon is it doesn't matter if you were, adopted or illegitimate or whatever, you're still my brother, and I still care about you, and I don't want you to die, and it's just really nice and sweet, and Baleon's just a good guy. He's a good guy, he's a good dad, so yeah, he's a good furry dilf, with a great voice actor, you can't go wrong with that.
Itsurugi, this guy is pretty uninteresting. I think he's a C tier pro tag. He is a wolf.
That's a bit of a hot take.
Up at the inn, and he wanted to, what was the problem? Was he like an abused dog or something? I forget.
I mean, maybe that's one way to put it. I'm good as that's I don't know, maybe 30 to 50% correct.
He grew up at the end. Was he that? I don't think he was that old at the beginning. I think he was just abandoned or something, or people didn't like him because he was an animal person, or what was it? What was his past? I actually forget this part.
He seriously? I'm assuming this isn't a bit. He actually seriously forgot everything about Itsurugi. Oh my god. Wow. Yeah, no wonder he's so low. Apparently he just forgot everything. I'm surprised he remembered... How did he remember Anastasia's story, but not Itsurugi's? So Itsurugi's actual story is he came from a world where he lived in a village, and the village was planning to sacrifice him, to use him for some kind of ritual sacrifice. And it's while he ends up in a Mechchi not because he was dead he was not killed for the ritual sacrifice, he was poisoned to the point of being nearly dead, near death, because you're not actually dead if you're in a Mechchi. You're it's you're in a near death state. You're halfway between alive and dead. So he's in a state where he's basically about to be killed for the ritual sacrifice. And when he returns to his world, he gets out of a Mechchi and returns to his world. He recovers from the poison, and I think he just escapes. I think he just escapes the village. I don't remember exactly how that went, but he escapes the village, and he basically spends the next however many years growing up, and he trains with the ultimate goal of getting back to Amechi so he can get revenge on Takatsumi, because he was like about to die, like for real. He was about to die in Amechi before he made it back to his world. So that is that's actually what happened.
He's in the inn. He works for, oh god, what's his name? Takatsumi. In like cleanup duty for the inn, and then he finds out that Takatsumi's like actually evil and like keeping.
Yeah. When he's in Amechi, he's working for Takatsumi at Saito, and then it's not really him finding out Takatsumi is evil necessarily. Mostly that just Takatsumi, even though Takatsumi is evil, but we don't know that until Last Resort, the conclusion part of Empyrean Inn. During Itsurugi's campaign, we just know that Takatsumi is, his number one priority is like maintaining Amechi according to like his own ideals, and like because Itsurugi was like doing things that, you know, were basically forbidden in Amechi, he decides he basically just betrays Itsurugi and decides he has to kill him because he's, you know, now a Forsaken and is, you know, everybody in Amechi wants his head on a platter. So it's not so much that he knows that at this point that Takatsumi is evil. It's more that just Takatsumi just like betrayed him and nearly kills Itsurugi, but Itsurugi like makes it out and makes it back to his world before he dies.
Him, and then he's like, I want to know what happened to me, and like regardless of what the memories hold, and then he swears vengeance against Takatsumi, and he kind of like is set up enough to be like with the protags, but then he's not really with them. I think he shows up once. They run into him once. They hinted at Euan being in the story, but then I don't think they really did anything with it. Was like my real problem with it.
Well, they do something with it, because Euan finds Itsurugi, the adult Itsurugi, back on his world, and they talk about, he's like, I'm trying to get to Amechi, and like Euan gives him some advice. It actually isn't all that important to like the story overall, unfortunately. It's more just like, hey, here's Euan, and he's showing up, and they're having an interaction. Look at that. It's actually, you probably could have written that part out, and it wouldn't have changed anything. So I can understand that complaint.
He felt like he was supposed to do more, and then I feel like they didn't really use him after that. So he goes in the C tier for me. D tier.
He does. We do then see him again before the big final Nerva battle in Whispers of Purgation Last Words. But yeah, it's like pretty much aside from that and the meeting that he has with Euan briefly, he doesn't really have a connection to the rest of the cast in the story. But I still really like Itsurugi. He's like the two characters that kind of weren't done, I don't want to say done dirty, but like at the very end of Amechi, the two characters that most feel like they actually mattered were Takatsumi and Itsurugi, while the others feels like maybe they were originally going to have more of a purpose, and then for whatever reason it just didn't pan out that way. But I feel like the reason Seiryo is rating Itsurugi so low is just because he doesn't remember. He doesn't remember his story for some reason, which is very strange, because Itsurugi's is, because he's so much more important, it is much more memorable than Anastasia's, which he remembered much more clearly for the most part, and yet still ranked her low. But yeah.
Ilganu, this is like a really boring character. She talks very slowly and is very unsure of herself because she is a ghost. She's a wraith, I guess, not a ghost. It's like, I think there's like a physical body there, but like it's an immortal body.
It's called a wretch. It's not like wretches were like an extremely major and important part of the Reveal story or anything. How dare he? How dare he? First off, how dare he? How dare he call Ilganu boring?
It's kind of like a ghoul. And her and her sister died, and so she's like this just living grudge of a person, but she doesn't really remember much. But she ends up siding with the good guys because she's not actually evil. It's just like she's like a spirit, a sentient spirit. She was very uninteresting whenever she was on the screen, so I put her at D tier. No, you know who's not uninteresting?
I have to disagree. I love Ilganu. I can understand why some other people might see her as kind of boring, but yes, she's or sad oregano. She is very sad, but that's not her whole character. I think that's what's important, is to realize is that it's her being this sad, tragic Southern belle. That's just like that's not her whole character. She's also dealing with grief, and she's dealing with, you know, a desire for vengeance, and whether or not, you know, that is going to consume her as a person. And it's the kind of thing that's hard to put into words. It comes across way better in the story when she's interacting with characters like Zesselwench. And also, I think it was Kagero? Yeah, it was Kagero who, like, has an important talk with her, and who is like, and he's like, you can't continue on this way. You have to change, and you have to look within yourself and decide the right way to be and the right thing to do. And I really love Ilganu, and the fact she isn't just like, he's seeing, like, I'm so upset by this because Seiryo is just seeing her for just like, oh, the sad, tragic, you know, because that's not all she is. I'm sad by this. I am also sad oregano in this moment. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. I think Ilganu deserved better. She deserved better, okay?
Shillendrig, S tier villain.
Okay.
This guy is
redeemed
one
himself. Redeemed.
of the three titans in Reveal, the cowboy arc. You have three titans that are like these gods that govern the land, and then near the end they retcon it to be some inheritance bullshit. I didn't like that part, but
what? Retcon. Inheritance. Is he talking about the Reveal part of Whispers of Purgation Last Words, where we go back to Reveal and we learn more about like how like Not and Vincent became Titans? If that's what he's talking about, that's not a retcon. That was always, the implication was always, so first off, the Titans aren't gods, they're demigods that inherited the power of the god who created Reveal. Like that was always that was literally the lore from day one, is that they're not gods, they're just demigods created from that power. And it was strongly implied that Not and Vincent were like obviously not the original Titans of Order and Force, because Icy is the only original Titan. There was never another Titan at Prosperity other than Icy, but that's because Icy's been around for like thousands and thousands of years at least. Meanwhile, that's not the case for Vincent and Not, so they would have had to inherit their powers. There had to have been a whole lineage of, you know, Titans of Order and Force before them. That was always the implication. I don't know what he's talking about with that being a retcon. That is absolutely not. That was always what it was supposed to be from day one. It just, during the original Reveal arc, they just didn't go like too deep into it, and that's why they did during the Return of Reveal in the final chapter instead, is so we could go and actually like explain how the whole like Titan lineage thing works, with like, you know, going in and giving the details and information about how Vincent and Not became Titans, and learn a little bit about the previous Titans in Order of Force before them. We find out that it was Not's father was the previous Titan of Force before her, and Vincent's was, unsurprisingly, the previous sheriff. So, yeah, not a retcon, dude. Just what was implied but not elaborated on initially.
you know, I'm gonna go off of what it felt like the story was before they wrote the last part of the story that was pretty shoot in. You know, the pre-Dragon Ball. You know, before Dragon Ball GT, right? Yeah, his power is
what? I don't know what he's talking about. I've never watched Dragon Ball. I was a Sailor Moon Cardcaptor Sakura kid, man. I don't know shit about Dragon Ball.
Is the god of, what is it, prosperity, and so he owns like everything in the world, and he takes from you what you take from him. So he has like a really cool boss fight where, because basically he ends up goading the people into killing him, and then he takes the Arisa's body because she lands the final blow, and then the world turns into Velsar, where he is like alive for 1,000 years as Arisa, and the world falls into ruin, where he like rules over it until eventually like everything comes to an end, and then the world.
Imagine how insane this must sound to someone who hasn't actually played the story. Like, imagine you're a story skipper and you just skip all of it for the rupees, and you only know the story characters from their cards, and you just know Icy as the funny train man, and you're hearing this and you're just like, what the fuck? What have I been missing? You're missing the best part of the game, dude. Play the story mode. Like, play it for real.
Resets back to Reveal. Okay, a lot of shit that goes down. Hard to explain, but in his boss fight, because he has like the power to take things from you that you took from him, he's got like 40 health, and every time you hit him, if you didn't like one-shot him, he would deal that much to you and heal right back up. So he's like really cool thematic boss fight.
Yeah, the Icy boss fight is really cool. I don't know if, of all the like special story boss fights, that one is probably my favorite. The one with Cetus and Maisha, where you actually have to deck out Maisha, is up there too. Both of those are really good because they're fun battles, and they're really, really good thematically. Because with Cetus, he doesn't actually want to hurt Maisha, so you have to just, I think she even has like 99 health or something in that fight. You literally can't get her to 0 health. The only way to win the fight is to deck her out, which is perfectly symbolic. And yeah, I also mentioned with Icy's fight, he has like 40 health, and you have to OTK him. I love it when people play that fight and they slowly come to the realization that the way to win the fight is to OTK him. Like, that's so fun.
Really great voice actor, sick clothes, 10 out of 10. Cool card too. A train comes onto the board when you play him because he owns the railroads. 10 out of 10. Elaine.
That's all good stuff, but he didn't really talk about why Icy is such a good character. But I maybe shouldn't, because I will then talk about it for the next like 5 hours. I just have a lot of feelings about Aishel and Drake, okay? But yeah, based Belphomet and Icy in S tier. Based. Very sad about Isabelle and F. Very, very, very sad about Ilganau and D. But we got Icy and Belph and S, so you know, I can't complain too much.
Elaine seemed pretty uninteresting. Elaine? She traveled with Ash.
Did he call Elena Elaine? It's Elena, my dude. Not to be confused with Elana. It's funny, they have Elana. It's funny because in Japan, Elena is named Era, and I just, you know, I'm sure the localizers just went, damn it, why didn't we keep her name Era in English? Because now we have an Elena and an Elana. Asher.
And then she started screaming, and I gotta say, her VA kind of killed it.
She did. Elena's VA, shout out to Maddie Matsumoto, Elena's English VA, just crazy good performance. She really captures the fact how Elena starts out as just this super happy-go-lucky, silly, kind of dumb, ditzy, let's go on an adventure, happy girl, and then just her whole entire world gets completely shattered, and she goes not quite crazy, but a little delulu, and it's a wild ride, and she perfectly just captures all of that emotion and just how broken Elena becomes like through the whole course of the story. And yeah, fantastic, extremely fantastic.
She she's a pretty insane character. She's not like an S tier.
She's just very a little delusional and very traumatized. That's kind of not fair, man.
You're not always excited when she's on screen, but like in retrospect, she was absolutely insane, and it was truly something to be there when she was like freaking the fuck out most of her dialogue. And then afterwards, she finds out that, hey, maybe she was the messed up one. Or no. I think she says that she's gonna vow vengeance for Asher or something. She's still like infatuated with this guy, but she says like the reason that he died was because of Nerva or something. And then she says that I'm gonna go fight for other worlds. And then she's not in Worlds Beyond. I don't know. I hope she comes up in the story again. It would really be a shame if they don't use her again. This is Eleanor.
I mean, we will. They did confirm that we will see Shadowverse 1 characters. Some of them will return in the Worlds Beyond story, so we could see Elena again. But I do feel like her story and her arc did kind of wrap up with the ending of the whole Whispers of Purgation stuff and the ending of the SV1 story. I don't feel like we'd really need to see her again, but you never know.
The leader of the Magus Covenant in the Italy arc. So the Guild Wars.
Excuse you, it's the Ravnica arc.
I promise we'll.
Okay, no, it's a Sunia, but like the joke of course being that it's Ravnica.
Be done explaining arcs soon. The Guild Wars arc was there's like 5 guilds and Eleanor's the leader of one of them, and basically the goal of the 5 guilds is everyone kind of wants to control the world, but if any 2 fight each other, they know that they'll be destroyed, and so they just kind of try to coexist. So that's really all I'm going to give you guys about the Guild Wars. Eleanor is the leader of the mages. She's the Runecraft leader, and she just does not care about people. Just like think of like the most autistic person you've ever met. True.
Oh my god, yeah, totally. Eleanor is totally autistic rep. Oh, that's so true. I never even thought about that before. We love Eleanor, our artistic girly.
Just only cares about her experiments, and then she's kind of like makes like a homunculus. She just drops it out in the wild, and whatever the hell happens to people, she doesn't really care. But she's not like a villain. She's like, okay, it's just like a lot of work, to clean up. She's, one of those people. Overall, a lot of fun dialogue with her, and she's supposed to help Isabelle overcome Kyle. So, but despite having to deal with Isabelle, she herself was not really dragged down because she was a fun character the entire time. Next up is Florice. Florice is the
Florice? It's Flo S, my dude. Flo S. Not Florice.
Out of her veil, she made the Titans. So, but like she was like a fortune teller or something, and then she had the time loop because she knew that Nexus was coming, and she said the only way that this world can survive Nexus is if our people have their shit together, and basically if they can't kill the Titans, then they're not ready to really save the world. So I'm gonna put her in D tier. I don't really know, like she just like didn't have a lot of dialogue, so it's like more of the fact
she didn't have a lot of dialogue. Points to the entirety of Velsar Reconclusion. Hello.
That because she didn't do a whole lot, or it's not that she didn't do a whole lot, but because she didn't have a lot of dialogue, you don't get a lot of screen time with her.
Again, Velsar Reconclusion. Hello.
Just like a mystical entity, kind of D tier for me. Hard to like those characters. Well, this guy was the Bulwark.
Matabatter says, hot take, I found her annoying at first. She's just kind of a... So, the thing about Flo S is that she's kind of a nothing character at first, and that's sort of the point. You aren't really supposed to think much of her. You're just kind of be like, huh, who this? What's this bitch about? And then we get to Velsar Reconclusion, and then you find out what this bitch is about. and that's when really Flo S pops off as a character. And then also in Final Loop to some extent. She's not in that as much, but yeah, Velsar Reconclusion is like, that's like her chapter. That's it's important for the Velsar cast too, obviously, but I think it's just as, if not more important for her. Saturn V Live says Floess is peak. Absolutely, I absolutely love Floess. I love how condescending she is. I love her whole personality of she's like this perfect mix of like condescendingly bitchy and also like genuinely caring. Because she really does. Like obviously Reveal is very, very important to her. She wouldn't have gone to the insane lengths that she did to save it if she wasn't. But because she's been through so much and she's, you know, gone through all of these thousands and thousands of loops, and this experience she has, basically now having been upgraded from, you know, just an ex-vessel to a full-on goddess, she's become, I think she even says to Nexus or someone, I think it was Nexus, she says, oh, I left my heart behind a long time ago. And that also kind of gives you some like, oh, is she even like a bad guy or not? There's even like, that's a big question about Floess up until Velsar Reconclusion, is she actually a villain? And the answer is no. she's the big good, if anything, but she has that sort of, you know, ambiguity where it's kind of hard to peg her morally until you really find out more about her and who she really is and what she's really fighting for. And I freaking love Floess. I'm so sad he thinks she's just kind of boring, or just like, yeah, he kind of feels about her the same way he feels about Il'gyno, which that makes me sad. Because I think Il'gyno is, well, I do think Il'gyno is more than that, but also Floess is so much more than that. She's fantastic. I'm like really sad that she died. Like, she had to die. Like, it was really important for the story that she die, but like, damn it, I missed her. Like, I really missed her during the return to Reveal in the final chapter, just because she is like such a good character and so entertaining.
He sounded cool when he talked. He had no actual character development. He was one of Kratos's goons, which I guess we should explain that entire arc for a second real quick. It's the last thing I have it, because it's like the Elena arc and the Asher arc. The Asher and Elena arc is, there are this group of monster people that are trying to summon Nerva. It's a prelude to the rest of the story. And then there is a faction of people trying to stop Nerva from being summoned, because they know that, like, hey, we don't want like our world to be destroyed by this thing, and so we're going to try to like hunt out these factions of people, get rid of them. And so this guy is with the good guys, who are not the people you're following. You're actually following the bad guys, kind of, for most of the story, but you don't know that. It's like really hidden. It's a really great part of the story, by the way. I rooted for you. I'm sorry. You should have clicked away probably 35 minutes ago in this video.
Yeah, yeah, that is, it's funny to hear it just explained so simply, but yeah, that is one of the, like, one of the best things about the Whispers of Purgation arc is it's set up like the most like generic like fantasy hero story, and then you find out, oh wait, we might be the bad guys. And that's when Elena like also has like her whole breakdown, and yeah, it's very good. It's like Cygames decided, hey, you know that other game we have, Grand Blue Fantasy? What if we did that again, but like made it fucked up? that's what we're gonna do for the final arc of Shadowverse. Is we're gonna just make Grand Blue Fantasy but fucked up.
But he just doesn't have a lot of character development. He's just like the big strong guy that's alongside Kratos. He was kind of sick, and then because it was like a prelude to the rest of the story, he's also playing some old dog shit deck, which I thought was a little funny that they decided to do that instead of... They had a lot of cool parts near the end, so it can't fault them.
I don't remember... What was this dude's name? Jagrand? I don't remember his fight at all. This guy remembers the good on Seiryo for actually remembering that fight, because I do not.
For that. But yeah, he just didn't have enough development to be... But he's kind of cool, so I'm going to put him in B tier. The Greats...
Dragrand is such a nothing character, though. He's, like, even compared to Teresa, like, at least she has more of a purpose in the story, because she's the one who, like, instigates the whole, oh, by the way, here, I can prove Asher is actually a monster, and that you guys are the bad guys. Dragonrand you could just take out of the story and nothing would change. He's completely superfluous. I don't even know why he was there. It wasn't to sell a Dragoncraft leader, they never put him in the battle pass, so what was the point of him again? I have no idea why Seiryo put his in B tier. He's just a completely nothing character.
Spider, what the actual fuck?
Yeah, rating him above Ilgano, Drak, and Itsurugi is that's pretty hot take. That's a pretty hot take, my dude.
Was this? This was like the worst actual thing. This is going back to the Empyrean Inn where people lose their memories. This was not the official big bad, but it was like the smokescreen big bad that they tried to use. And it was just like a spider who ate people's memories. There's like a deity within the inn. And
the Great Spider isn't really a character. I'm not even sure why the Great Spider is even in this like list. They're not. It's not really a character.
It's
yeah. Flair says I don't even know why the spider is on the list. To be honest, this wasn't a character. Yeah, I agree. It's not a character. it's just a creature. I mean, it's a creature that's like kind of important to the story, but it's not a character.
Barely a character, but it kind of was like a driving force for the plot. And then Itsurugi kills it like the first time he sees it. I forget if Takatsumi was gonna kill it.
Itsurugi didn't kill it. Takatsumi did.
Or not, but they killed the Great Soot Spider with... I don't know. It felt like it just kind of died. Like the first time you see it, it dies. And it just was very underwhelming as a character.
It's not.
And as a big bad, because
it's the creature that basically just keeps. It's just a monster. It's not. It doesn't have a personality. It's more like an animal or a monster, but it keeps the inn running. And Kunitsu Amachi has like tamed it or something, or he can like control it. So it's not like completely wild and uncontrollable. Like Kunitsu can basically use it to power the inn, pretty much. But then, you know, Takatsumi kills it and Kunitsu. They get better, but like, which was weird. They never kind of explained how that worked, but whatever.
It's the spider, dude. It's just a spider. You're gonna tell me a spider's our villain? That's it? Nah. Kagero. This guy's boring as shit. D tier.
Oh. Cursed. Fuck you. I love Kagero.
He is the sheath to a blade. He is like the sword spirit. He's the actual sword, but like the spirit that possesses the sword, like the Japanese folklore type stuff. He is.
How does he think Kagero is boring, but is okay with Dragrand? How does he have Dragrand in B tier that thinks Kagero is boring and puts him in D tier? Dude, my guy.
He just his loop in the Velsar thing is he just keeps dying because he can't master the killing technique. He can't like sheath the sword because the actual sword just likes to kill people and it's a separate like entity. But he is the
Saturn 5 says, I'll be honest, I don't even know who Dragrand is. He's a completely nothing character from the final arc. Literally, well, not final arc, but the Whispers of Purgation, which is the penultimate arc that leads into the final arc. But he is a completely nothing character where if you took him out of the story, absolutely nothing would change. I don't know why he exists.
Sheath, and then he like ends up absorbing him. It's kind of like when Piccolo eats that one guy, Kami or whatever. But he's just like pretty uninteresting. I was never really excited when he was on screen, and I didn't think he was. I don't remember liking him all that much. Next up is the Furies. They're on here.
I'm so frustrated by this because Kagero is my favorite member of the Velsar gang because of like he's such like a good classic samurai. Like you don't really see like really like classic samurai characters anymore. I feel like they're all just trying to be like I don't know what the word is, but the way Kagero is just like, yeah, Matter Batter says, we stand our sword, lad. Yeah, he's just like, he's strong, but he's nice, and he doesn't, you know, he wants to fight people. He only just like fights to protect. He's he's like a pacifist. Multifaceted is also a good word. So he's gentle and he's a pacifist. He doesn't like to fight, but he will when he has to, and he's still very strong. I really like the well, his story is him like facing and dealing with Tsukikage, who's so they're two sword spirit. They're two spirits of the same sword and sheath. So Kagero is the spirit of the sheath of the sword. Tsukikage is the spirit of the blade. So Tsukikage's whole thing is he just loves killing people and just goes around indiscriminately killing everyone. And Kagero kind of has to like solve that murder mystery while also proving that like, because they're kind of sort of the same person, that he's not the murderer, and has to face Tsukikage and deal with him. And I really like Kagero's story. For just, it just has good, like, classic samurai vibes, if that makes sense. And not everyone needs to be morally grayish all the time. Like, honestly, that is kind of weirdly refreshing about Kagero and Tsukikage's whole conflict. It is a very, like, black and white conflict. It is about, the evil half versus the good half, and I'm angry at myself not being able to properly express it and put it into words of why I like it, but I just love how like cool and soft-spoken and like just like it's just like, if you've ever watched Samurai Jack, Kagero reminds me a lot of Jack from Samurai Jack, and they're both not complex characters, but that doesn't make them not good characters. Like Lumi says, not everybody has to be all morally gray and complicated. Sometimes you can just have a character who is kind of straightforward, but is still, still very nice and impactful and memorable with that. Like, he's like a really strong and good example of the archetype. So, I really have to disagree with Seiryo here. I think if you think Kagero was boring, you're really just kind of like missing almost like what's good about his character, honestly, is that he is, strong in his simplicity, is almost how I want to say it. He's a great character who doesn't have to be super complex to be really good. He's also the sane one of the Velsar gang. Yeah, he probably, out of all of the Velsar gang, he's also like probably the most like, he has it together. the most sane man out of the Velsar gang. This is also true. He can almost be kind of considered the straight man.
Because they had models and they are not actual characters, so they go in D tier. Well, they're kind of characters. They're Baphomet's creations, basically.
Kind of characters is a good way to describe the Furies, actually, though, I must admit. That's actually kind of on point.
The 3 robots that are sentient, there were an additional 3 that Baphomet turned into these monsters and completely removed all their will. And he calls them the Furies. And if you ever play Glory Finder, these are those. There's
Glory
like
Finder mentioned? Shadowverse Evolved Glory Finder mentioned? Based. Incredibly based.
I don't actually know their names. Tristophine or something. It doesn't really matter.
Tristophine. Tisiphone. Her name is Tisiphone, my guy. Like the Furies, as in the Greek. They're literally named after characters from Greek mythology.
They kind of suck, and they just have like copy-pasted dialogue about like recharging limiters, so they're not even characters.
Yeah,
next
they're
up,
kind of not. Yeah, the Furies kind of aren't really characters, but that's kind of the point. That we never saw them pre-Belf. We never saw the other 6 Robo Sisters because they got like taken apart and turned into the Furies. But the moment they turn on Baphomet at the end of Invasion of the World Weaver that's such a good moment. Like, the Furies really aren't characters, except in that moment where they have like one of the best, like most impactful parts of that whole arc, where it turns out the Furies still have like some will, some soul, some remnant of the Robo Sisters who basically were killed to create them, and Madara says, "Yeah, fuck you, Dad. Ruins your plans." Yep, they turn on their evil dad, and side with their sisters in the end, which is such a good part of that story. Like one of the best moments in that chapter.
Is Lilith? He's part of the Academy arc. Cornelius is.
Lumistory says Sekka has mommy and identity issues, but otherwise sane like Kagero. Yeah, the Sekka and Kagero are like the ones who have it together the most. I'd say the more sane of the two. Though post character development, Alizard is I think he's got it together pretty well too. It's only Drock that's still a little bit of a. Drock also gets a lot more mature and a lot more he gets it together a bit more, but he's still I guess out of the four he'd be the most still like a bit of a he's silly. He's a kind of a silly guy. Yep, at the same time Drock is Drock. Very true, very true. Drock would not about it says Drock would still eat a chili pepper on it, Eric. Yep, absolutely true. He absolutely would.
His dad, and he's like a cocky guy who wants to overthrow his dad's reign in the school. I think I put him in solid S tier because once you get through his like initial part of like him just being cocky and all that, and you find out he's got like a little more going on, and then he starts interacting with Amaryllis, he becomes like a very enjoyable character once he's on screen. And the Academy arc is because of these two. Fantastic art. Not just because of them though. Oh, Latika.
Lilith and S tier. Okay, yeah, that's based. I love my son. I love my silly little puppet son. I love Lilith. He's one of the best characters in all of Lanecrest. Both he and his dad just got done so dirty by Lanecrest being Lanecrest. But I'd say out of all of them, probably Lilith comes out the least bad. Out of all of them, I think Lilith maybe got done the least dirty, which maybe isn't saying much, but yeah, Lilith is a genuinely really great character. I really love him.
Is part of Baelion's story, which is the Nateran Great Tree. I just kind of like put Baelion here, didn't really explain that part of the story. That part of the story is basically it's post-apocalyptic by like 1,000 years or something, where like people overused all of the natural resources, but it wasn't a natural resource, it was actually like a god. It was Viridium.
Flair says in regards to Lilith, to be fair, his competition was War Criminal Yandere and Toxic Yuri. Not the greatest competition. Yeah, that's kind of true. Again, Lanecrest be, less about Lanecrest the better, perhaps.
Magna was like a light bulb, or she was like an oil reserve for the people, and then they used her to like create civilization, and then, you know, they used too much energy, and Viridian Magna went to sleep, and civilization collapsed. Well, Latika is this cat girl who found the ancient Twitch girl VODs and tries to replicate.
That's correct though. That's completely correct though.
The way they talk.
He's not wrong about any of this so far.
So she sits there.
Describing Big Mom as a light bulb is kind of funny. He also describes her as an oil rig, and it's just like, technically not wrong. That's sort of what the ancient Terrans did, and why they were awful.
Watching old Twitch VODs, and then says lol poggers. Well, she doesn't say poggers, but she says lol.
Let Latika say poggers. If Latika shows up in Worlds Beyond, she has to say poggers, guys. We got email side games about this. Send them feedback. Send them emails. Says Latika in Worlds Beyond. Let her say poggers.
Pwned and all those things. She's like this really hot cat girl. Good character. Good character. Her entire thing is, yeah, people didn't like her because she had big claws. I think that was about it. And she just kind of hangs out with Aris and tries to fix Aris' problem, whatever Aris' problem is. I think there's like shipping between her and Tetra, and I think Miss Delina. I don't actually know if Miss Delina was part of that or not. Forget. It's been a while. Major Mouskers.
Shipping with both of them because Latika is just a raging lesbian who really just wants to be in a polycule. I think Latika might not only be lesbian. Well, we know she's a lesbian, but in addition to lesbian, I think she might also be poly, because it really seems like she wants to be in a relationship with both Miss Delina and Tetra. But yes, we love our Gyaru Tiger Girl. Latika is a fan fave for a reason. We love everything about Latika. She's hilarious. She's a great character. She's gay as hell. Lumi Story says, let's get Latika's English video commentator or streamer. I would love that. I love Laura Post, because I love Laura Post. Her VA is an actress named Laura Post, who I'm a big fan of. I love her. I love a lot of anime and games and stuff that she's been in. That would be fantastic. Yeah, let's get Laura Post to like stream in character as Latika. That would be super based.
Fantastic card, also part of the Neteran arc. This guy is Valdane's right-hand man, because Valdane and Baleon lead two separate armies, and somehow this talking Scottish cat, is the second in command. He's completely incompetent, but he's 10 out of 10. Arisa calls him Major Fluffy Butt.
What do you mean Meowskers is incompetent? Meowskers is like one of the most competent people in the entire arc. I'm not gonna lie, Meowskers is like, I feel like Meowskers has it together better than both Valdane and Baleon do. Like, Meowskers know what's up.
Great character. Next up is...
Yeah, Meowskers and S tier is absolutely based. I freaking love Meowskers. He's so good. It's his cuteness you underestimate him. Exactly.
Oh, Linda? Who was this?
And yeah, completely a fantastic vocal performance by Mark Whitten is Meowskers in English with that Scottish accent. Fun fact about Meowskers, in Japanese he's voiced by a woman doing this kind of like generically cutesy voice. And I honestly really don't like it. Like, the whole joke with Meowskers in Japanese is like, oh, he's trying to be cool and tough, but he, you know, sounds all like high-pitched and cutesy and generic, like a generically like cute cat. And I just don't think it's that funny. Meowskers in English actually having like the tough guy Scottish voice is so much funnier. That is so much funnier. Like, Mark Whitten's Meowskers is just absolutely peak. I love English Meowskers. Infinitely better than the Japanese. Don't at me. I think it's perfect.
This bitch was crazy.
Linda? Did he call her Linda? Hold on.
Next up is Linda? Who was this?
Linda.
This bitch was crazy.
Her name is Lydia.
This was like awful. F tier. The entire part where I said there's the character Kratos, which we haven't gotten to yet. He's like, hey, I got this. Okay, so she starts off with, sorry, I'm brain everywhere, long video.
Madabata redeemed
Asher,
jacket off /on.
Starting village is with Linda, who it turns out Asher is a like meatball monster. It looks like a Monsters Inc. like toy or something.
Monsters Inc. Oh my god. Guys, Asher. Oh my god. Now I can't unsee it. Asher is just red Mike Wazowski with tentacles. He's not wrong. That's why I'm laughing. He's just not wrong. Oh my god.
Is what Asher looks like with the big reveal before he dies. And Linda was somebody.
The fact he keeps calling her Linda. It's Lydia. Oh my god.
That he had kidnapped, but she liked the meatball monster because she was insane, which is the same thing that happened with Elaine. Elaine was also insane.
Elaine, again, also calling Elena Elaine. Yeah, my two favorite Shadowverse characters, Linda and Elaine.
And like the meatball monster, but Lind was like a little more subdued. And Kratos explains everything to Elaine, is like, okay, we can defeat Nexus. I know you kind of like that one meatball, but like maybe we can just like kill Nerva. Sorry, we can kill Nerva. And Elaine's like, you know, I'll help you. Kratos, a little fucked up, but I think that Asher would have not wanted this. Well, Lind is insane, and she just kills Kratos, and then Nerva destroys the world, and everyone dies. But you hadn't seen Lind. The crazy thing is about this woman is you hadn't seen her. It's like, I think there's like a 6-month gap between the stories. It felt like, or 3 to 6 months gap. It's hard to remember, but it had been a while. Like you hadn't seen the story.
Wait. if he's talking about, what is he talking about? Because the Whispers of Purgation is the story arc that she's in, and you're right, we do see Lydia at the beginning of it, and then we don't see her again until we get to her and Kratos in like the second half. But there was only a 6-week gap, I think. It was like a month or 6 weeks between part 1 and part 2. Because that was, yeah, they released Whispers of Purgation part 1, like the first half. And then, like, it was only like a month or... Yeah, I think he was, but it was only like a month or 6 weeks before they released, because it was in 2 halves. The first half of Whispers of Purgation was released, and then we got the second half, like, it was at most 6 weeks later. It was not that long. It was like a month and a half.
Story progress, and she hasn't been in the story. She was in like the first 2 chapters, and you're on like chapter 30, and suddenly she comes back up again to kill like the main character.
Yeah, it is like a long jump before we see her again, but it wasn't that long, like, in like actual real life time. It was only like a month and a half between the release of the 2 halves of the chapter.
She kind of sucked. Terrible. Awful. This is
Lydia is kind of an awful person, though. I mean, that's kind of the point, but no, how do I explain this? Lydia is an awful person, but that's the point. She's... the fact she is kind of a horrible, selfish bitch is the whole reason why everything just gets fucked up. And why Nerva ends up being like she's the entire reason that Nerva is Nerva, and then everything terrible that happens in the Shadowverse story because of Nerva happens. It's all because Lydia is a fucking bitch. Lydia is just a terrible person. Lumi's story says Lydia is just too down bad for the tentacle basic protagon. It's true. I mean, I get it. I mean, I understand being down bad for a tentacle boy. But, yeah, Lydia sucks, but that's the point. So, I can't actually hate her as a character because she accomplishes exactly what she needs to do in the story, which is just be an awful person and be the whole reason that Nerva, you know, becomes basically the big bad of Shadowverse.
Kyle goes in D tier because nobody's as bad as Isabelle and Erica.
What is your beef
We're
with
talking
Isabelle,
about Kyle.
my
He
guy? What is your beef? Like, I mean, he explained it, but the explanation made no sense. So, I don't get it, dude. Just let it go, man. She's not that bad.
Doesn't have like any character. He just wants to hang out with the boys. Lazaria's voiced by...
I guess because he just why you gotta do Kyle like that? I think just because he hates Isabelle by extension.
by one of my favorite VAs. So she goes in C tier. She is just there to give Arisa.
My man got hit by too many D shifts. Maybe he's just a Runecraft hater. Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe Seiryo is just has it out for Runecraft.
So a reason to be.
Lumi's story says Kyle was a plot device for Isabelle, nothing more. Yeah, that's a fair criticism, I think. He doesn't have much of a role in the story other than to be the guy who Isabelle that dies and makes it so Isabelle has to, you know, deal with her grief and have character development. He doesn't have much of a role outside of that. I will say, though, it is kind of refreshing to have that kind of character be a dude. Because usually, when you have, like, the guy who has their, like, I think on TV Tropes calls it Lost Lenore, after, you know, that Edgar Allan Poe poem. The Lost Lenore, that the character is like, oh, the love that they lost and now they're mourning over and, you know, are all angsty because of it. Usually that's a woman. It's a guy who has to do the mourning over his dead girlfriend. Here they gender inverted it, which is a little refreshing. It's nice to see a man get used as the dead boyfriend plot device for once. But yeah, other than that, Kyle just exists to be dead, and that's a valid criticism. I get it.
Gets possessed by Nexus, and then Orisa comes back cracked, and Lazaria's like, damn, what am I doing now? Yeah, she doesn't do a whole lot, but she's got a great VA, so she goes in C tier for me. Marlone.
Losaria also kind of feels like more of a plot device than a character, unfortunately, especially in the English translation of the first chapter. Oof. Oh, she got done real bad by that. There's actually a really good scene that they completely changed for some reason in the English version of the so for those who don't know, the English version of Morningstar, there are bits of the script that are just completely 100% different from the Japanese. I have no idea why. They just completely changed some scenes in the English version compared to the Japanese. I don't know why they did this. It's the only chapter where they do it. After you know, chapter 1 and the rest of the story, it's completely fine. But for some reason, there are some scenes in the first chapter in English that are just completely different from the Japanese, and one of them involves Losaria, and it's a character, and it's a scene that actually gives us some actual characterization on Losaria to make her seem like more of a person, more of an actual character, to seem like, you know, somebody that Arisa would admire and look up to, and like why Arisa cares about her. But then they just completely like ruin it. They change it completely. It's to make it not about, they make it more about Arisa than they do about Losaria in the English version, and it just completely ruins it. It negates the whole point of what the scene was originally about. So yeah, unfortunately Losaria is kind of a very much a victim of that. She's better in the Japanese script, but because of that. But yeah, Losaria also is a character that was ultimately made into more of a plot device than a character, which is kind of a shame.
It was Mr. Subway. I say I was gonna put him in.
Oh my god, did he call Marlone Mr. Subway? Oh.
B tier? I'm gonna put him in B tier for getting sandwiches to Luna. That's where he goes.
Based. You know what? I can't argue with that. Based.
He leads one of the guilds in the Guild Wars. So he leads basically what I think is supposed to be the church. He's like the Pope, kind of like Aris.
Marlone runs an atheist church, which is really funny. His whole thing is, oh, there are no gods in it. There are no gods in Asunia. We don't believe in gods. But also we have a church. The church is more about like, but it's not like, so obviously it's not a church where they worship a god. They do the opposite of that. They just are about like, you know, more about the community and more about helping people and like maintaining order and balance. You know, he's the balance guy. Marlone, the light of balance, that's his whole thing. Is the Escamali, his guild is like they're like peacekeepers and mediators, and you know, even though the Blade Rights are, you know, supposed to be like the knights, the police officers, the law keepers, you know. It's really more Escamali who prevents the conflicts. But so I always thought that was really interesting about Marlone.
And he ends up chowtsuing himself at the end, but I don't really remember him doing anything except for making sandwiches for Orisa. No, sorry. He makes sandwiches for Luna, and then he feeds rocks to Nicola, because Nicola is an android from the same world as Mono and Tetra, but he's like a prototype. And he ends up at the Guild Wars.
He's a cyborg. He was like he was like an experiment of Baphomet's when he was still like kind of figuring out like the cyborg technology, like way before he made the Robo Sisters, when he was still like he was like an earlier experiment. He's not a full robot. He is a cyborg. He was a regular human at one point, and then Baphomet did all kinds of put all kinds of crazy robot bits in him, and now he's more machine than human now, which is why he can't eat regular food. He has to eat crystals and rocks.
Running away from Baphomet, and Marlone basically feeds him and keeps him alive, and then also it acts as like a mediator between the rest of the other guilds. But he's pretty uninteresting. I really don't remember much about him outside of that.
Marlone's job is to be a dad to Luna and to be Nicola's boyfriend. That's kind of the role that Marlone plays. And you know what? I kind of love him for that. Marlone is another character who's not complicated, but he doesn't have to be. We know a little bit about his backstory. Apparently he's a little bit like Aris, which I guess is another reason why they kind of have the arc together and have a connection, is because he used to be like her. He used to be like a bad guy. He used to be a bad person. He admits he like did all these like awful things, and then at some point I don't know, I guess all of his like all the bad stuff he did kind of like caught up to him karmically. But he got like a second chance, and that's how he got his powers, and then he kind of from then on devoted himself to helping people and being a better person and being redeemed. And I really like Marlone. I wish we'd kind of gotten like more the backstory is really just only kind of implied, and it's kind of only barely touched on. I would have liked to see more of that, just because I like the whole... I don't know if it would have been that important, or, like, probably wouldn't have been, like... I don't know. I guess they don't do it because it really wouldn't have been all that important in the end, but I just like that. I like characters going through redemption arcs. That's why I like Aris. That's why I like Marlon. I like, you know, that type of character development. So I really like Marlon for that. And B tier is higher than I think a lot of people would place him, so I'm okay with that. he's at least that high for me. I hope with the wit. So we're getting finally getting Nicola as a battle pass leader. I would really like to get a Marlon leader someday too. Lumi Story asks, how does Nicola eat rocks? He'd have to be destroyed by then. Well, he has, like, presumably, like, metal... I assume Nicola has, like, some, like, his his body is, like, most of his body is mechanical. I assume he has, like, steel teeth or, like, some kind... or a digestive system that... Well, obviously, he has, like, his whole now robot system, like... It doesn't process real food, it processes the minerals, I guess. but yeah, that's a good question.
Miser's sick, S tier, great character. He's got a cowboy hat, he's got a gun, great VA. He is the deputy of Reveal, but he doesn't like to draw his gun because one time he shot someone when he started off. And so a lot of his...
Matter Batter says, also in regards to Nicola, imagine he's just a brain in a person-shaped jar. That's kind of what he is at this point. I think he still does technically have some organic bits. He's considered a cyborg and not a full-on robot, but there's not much organic stuff left of him. He's more machine now than man, and that's why he's Shadowcraft, because in that way he can kind of keep coming back from the dead, quote unquote. He's not really dying, he's more just like, you know, he gets really badly, like, banged up and injured and broken, and he can fix himself because he's a robot, or cyborg, mostly robot, so.
Like, stuff is, like, dealing with that PTSD, but also being, like, an upstanding, you know, member of the law and being everyone's hero. He'll be like, dang, I gotta chase this guy who stole from the store, but then old Granny needs to walk across the street, gotta help her across the street. She's one of those characters. Great guy. Fantastic voice acting, 10 out of 10. Cannot wait for him to come out physical.
Come out in... What did he say? Come out in physical? Oh, I think he means, like, in Shadowverse Evolve. Yeah, Shadowverse, Reveal is Shadowverse Evolve Set 11. So I'm really looking forward to that, too. Yeah, Miser in S tier is based. We love Miser. We love Miser.
Mizuchi's part of the Empyrean Inn, and, you know, her, and I'm gonna put her and C-Long in... D tier. I just don't care about them. Don't care about them. They're the exact same character. Mizuchi and C-Long are Shiro and Archer from Fate. That is how to explain it. If you understand that, you understand these characters. There's really nothing else to be said.
What? I'm not that familiar with Fate. I know a little bit about it from, like, osmosis. Huh? I don't get this. What's the deal with Shiro and Archer? Someone who knows Fate, explain this to me. How are Shiro and Archer like Mizuchi and C-Long? Hard disagree about them being in D tier also. Yeah, also they're also very much not the same person. I mean, they are and they aren't. They're the same person from two different timelines. So Mizuchi is like the starting point, and then C-Long is Mizuchi from a very far off, distant different timeline. So she's like Mizuchi from an alternate future. And yeah, they are extremely different in terms of personality, because what happened in C-Long's timeline, like, turned her into a completely different person. Yeah, much more slothful and prideful. I don't get this take. I don't get it. Especially because I don't get the whole Shiro Archer thing, because I don't know Fate that well. I think that this guy just doesn't like MSG. Because he seems to both not like the characters and not remember much about it, because he also, like, didn't remember anything about Itsurugi. So, no, The only real negative towards Mizuchi and Sealong is the fact that, you know, kind of like Anna's Age, they're not really that relevant after their own campaigns and in the final part of the story where it's really just becomes about just Itsurugi and Takatsumi.
This is Lilium. She's the person who put Amaryllis
Close, Lilium. Not Lilium, Lilium.
in the book, and I don't really remember what else she did. Her power is she's Lelouch from Code Geass, I think, or something like that. No, she tells you a story, and if you start to think it's true, it becomes real for you. That's what her power was. So she tells Amaryllis that Amaryllis...
Kinda, sorta, not really. That's like a very, very simplified take on it. It's a little bit more complicated than that.
This is Rapunzel, and basically Amaryllis gets trapped in a book because that's... She basically did that to her. And then... forget what her actual, like, overarching thing was. I just remember she was pretty uninteresting. So, C tier for me. Maisha... B tier villain? B tier villain. I'm sorry, Harrison. I'm sorry, Maisha.
Because Ray watched this whole video already and said that Maisha was in A, so maybe he changes his mind.
Maisha lovers. In the Guild Wars, she's like the second in command of one of the guilds, but turns out she's actually just batshit insane, and she loves Nerva, and she wants the entire planet to die. That's her entire thing. I guess she was like a child soldier from another world.
Not a child soldier. So, in Maisha's world, basically there are two like classes of people. One class of people are just like normal people. They're treated like normal people. And the other class of people are not treated as people whatsoever. They're treated like objects. They are not even considered, they don't even have individual names, and they aren't allowed to own anything. They are treated as like machines or objects, and not as human beings. And Maisha was one of those, you know, people who weren't considered people. And it was because of that led her to, you know, rightfully resent her world and want to purge it, which is what eventually attracted Nerva.
And she destroyed that world in the name of Nerva, and then she came to the Guild Wars. She's going to destroy them, but she went undercover. So for the first half, she's like this like shy girl with glasses, and then it turns out she's insane, and she wields the two swords and then goes around killing people. Yeah, I guess she's A tier. She can be like A tier, I guess. She definitely was like a competent villain. She went around and systematically killed every single person in Velsar on the retcon part. The Dragon Ball GT arc gave her...
It wasn't a retcon. It was just elaborating on stuff that was only like implied before, or just we knew about it, but we like didn't have very much information.
For a little more life. So yeah, I guess the GT arc actually did her favors, while like we had to ignore half of Reveal's story because of it.
Hey, the only Reveal part I ignored was Not-Not's backstory. Because Not-Not's backstory sucked. but the rest was good and fine, and I like quite a bit actually. So.
Next up is Mistalina. Mistalina's cute.
Okay, yeah, he does put Maisha in A tier. We all know where Maisha should be, and that's S tier. One of the best characters in the entire game. Has one of the best stories in the entire game. The Velsar portion of the final chapter, which is all about her, is possibly, I think, might be the best like section of that whole chapter. Maisha is just an incredible, amazing character. Like, Maisha's fantastic. If Ray were here, I am sure Ray would give us talk to us for several hours about how amazing Maisha is. But I don't think we need to. I don't think we need to. I think we all know how amazing Maisha is and that she deserves to be an S tier. But we'll settle for A. I'll settle for A. You know what? I'll settle for A.
She's Baleon's daughter, sister. I actually forget. She has like a
not his sister, daughter.
Healing pawn, so she's immortal, and she's...
Oh yeah, she does have healing powers. I actually forgot that. I completely forgot Miss Alina had healing powers. I guess because it wasn't ever really that important. It was just a thing that she happened to have.
Really gay with Erica, I think. I don't remember much else about her. B tier because she's cute. I remember that much. And she has a...
Very gay with Erica and with Latika.
She has a good voice.
B is fair for Misty, I think. She's I like her, but she's not as like exciting. She's not as exciting as some of the other characters. She's cute and she's fun and she, you know, serves her role in the story, and so yeah, solid B. I think that's a very fair assessment.
Kratos is A tier. He was the man with the plan. He knew how to...
True. Good. Love to see the Kratos love. We love to see the Kratos appreciation.
Beat Nerva. He just didn't account for this bitch being insane. He got like a crew of people, and even though they had died, he was like, okay, it's unfortunate they died, but
who would win, a prince who has amassed an army and a plan to eliminate the influence of an eldritch god who's been corrupting the world, or one bitch down bad for Tentacle Boy?
we must press we have to have this plan. We're gonna try to do it. Cool character. Unfortunate that what happened to him. Would have liked to see more of him. Leon.
Great voice actor too. Griffin Puatu also voices Sunday in Honkai Star Rail, who's one of my favorite characters in that game too. Him and Kratos are like basically the same character. and that might be why.
Leod is C tier. I think he's pretty C tier. It's cool. Got a cool design.
That's fair.
Put him in B tier. Oh, he was around Erica. Everything about Leod had to do with Erica was the problem. I think he's C tier. He's C tier.
Yeah,
so
C is where I'd also put Leod. I like him, but he's also like, he's just kind of... I was sad when he died. That's something. He's just like a cool, sad dilf. I do feel bad for him and his backstory with his lost daughter, and him making the connection with Erica was nice, and then Maisha kills him, and I was sad, and I think that was how I was supposed to feel. So you know what? Yeah, C tier. It's fair.
It's Guild Wars, which is the second part of the story. Once again, he's one of the factions. He is like the assassin faction called Counter Solari, where it's like a bunch of...
You can remember, yeah. So yeah, it's so funny. So Seiryo here remembering the name Counter Solari of the Assassin Guild, but also can't remember Lydia's name is Lydia, not Linda. I don't know why that's so funny to me.
Assassins, I don't even know what they do. Their goal is to kill the Blade Rights, and also they just kill civilians and other people, and he's their leader, and I guess he has like Excalibur or something, and he swore vengeance on them because they killed his family, and then like he's like a very menacing guy, and then I think he died at the end. So, but the problem is his story was bogged down because Erica's an awful character, so he goes in C tier for me. He's kind of
boo. Enough with your Erica hate.
Cool when you just play the card though. Roly Poly, he goes with Ania. He's like A tier. He's Ania's friend. You know, he goes with Ania.
That's pretty based. Roly Poly is very based. We love Roly Poly, so yeah, I'd say he deserves to go in the same tier as Ania.
Who goes with Luna. And he's just like a robot that... He's like the chaperone kind of Luna, like, or of Ania. But he's also...
He's like the cute, even... Like, Ania's already kind of a cute sidekick. It's like, we give the cute sidekick a cute sidekick. And somehow it works.
Just like the kind of useless chaperone, like, right? He's just kind of like... Oh, like, think of, Pascal from Nier, kind of, but actually not at all. Not at all, because Nier is something else. Not. She is the Titan of Force in the world. She basically runs the Outlaws in Reveal. S tier. She's hot as shit. She has the Southern drawl. 10 out of 10. You cannot get better than this character. All of the Titans are going to go in S tier, by the way. Really, that...
Yes. Oh, that means he's gonna put Vincent in S tier too. That's perfect. Yes, I'm so glad he's because yeah, just straight up, the Titans are my favorite characters in all of Shadowverse, pretty much.
It's just she runs the crime scene. Baron reports to her, and she doesn't care if Baron tries to kill her. I think they might also might have shipped these two a little bit, but then they end up shipping her with someone else. Nexus goes in.
Her? Do you mean Bunny? Because yeah, like the Baron and not like had a fling at one point, but you know, ultimately we know Baron and Bunny end up together. But I guess that's what he was referring to.
C tier. She's pretty uninteresting. She's an eldritch god that is going to destroy the world, but I like her voice, so she gets a point for that. She's pretty uninteresting outside of that.
Kind of the point of Nexus, though. Yeah, Nexus is a generic keeper, which is, you know, not like Nerva. Nerva is an outlier and should not be counted. The Nexus is like an actual proper keeper, which are not really people. They're barely even like sentient. They're more like machines than they are like living entities. So because of that, Nexus is, you know, just doesn't really have a personality, because keepers aren't supposed to. So yeah, that's fair, I think, because that's kind of the entire point.
She's more of like a thing that you're supposed to defeat more than an actual character. Saito! Oh. Saito goes in S tier. This is
yes, absolutely, 100%, 10 out of 10, no notes, perfectly based. Seiryo, I forgive you for any and all transgressions on this list. We love Saito. Saito, the character he is like the most popular character that like Cygames doesn't seem to realize is insanely popular. Because he has no card, no battle pass leader, nothing, but everybody freaking loves Saito. As they should. The S stands, S for Saito.
Not a Shadowverse character. Wait a sec. I gotta get this on a different screen real quick for you. I don't think you guys... He doesn't have a card, and he doesn't belong in the story. This guy not only doesn't belong in the story, he looks like he's from Resident Evil, but he had the most insane line of dialogue in the entire story. The Empyrean Inn is you go there after you die, right?
No, you go there when you are when you're having a near-death experience. When you're in a state of halfway between alive and dead. Basically, when you're Wirt or Greg from Over the Garden Wall, you're in that halfway between life and death. The MHG is basically the unknown from Over the Garden Wall. So yeah, you're not dead. You're there's a big difference between mostly dead and all dead, and you're only in MHG if you're mostly dead.
I'm gonna hide my webcam here. Oh, I'm gonna hide my webcam here. So in the Empyrean Inn, you go there after you die. So he is like from a literal different universe. And
yeah, everyone in MHG is from a different world. That's like the point.
He's on this rant against to Annie Sage about how he had to sell a kidney for, like, I think it's supposed to be rent money or something. It says monthly quota, but obviously that's like rent money. Unbelievable character.
Incredibly base for actually showing the quote in the screenshot. Oh my god.
When I saw the line about the kidney, I was sold. This guy S tier. That was the funniest line in the entire story.
I once saw someone on Discord call Saito the one kidney wonder, and I'm just like, it's perfect. That is perfect, man. So, he doesn't really talk about why Saito is great here. He kind of just mentions the one line, which, I mean, that one line is great, but, I assume he's like Saito for also the other reasons that Saito is a really amazing character. Probably the best one in all of MHG, yet is probably one of the least relevant in the end, sadly. Yeah, Saito is freaking amazing. He's the only reason why he's like the only reason why Anastasia's campaign is like Anastasia is a better character because of him. Both of them are better characters because of their interaction with each other. Matterbetter says, I still think Saito is from not SMT, not Japan. Yeah, I thinking that was like, we don't know much about the world he came from other than like what he tells us, but it does give off a very like, it's clearly very like Shin Megami Tensei inspired. But yeah, everything about Saito is just, his performance is great, fantastic voice work. He's a great example of a character who is not a bad, I don't think, or wasn't a bad person, like, to start with, or is, like, I still don't think he's, like, a completely terrible person. I think he's just been through so much and been traumatized so badly, and he is dealing with all of that in like the worst way possible, and it's making him into more of a shitty person than I think he really is. Because he's siding with Takatsumi. He's basically, you know, a henchman to Takatsumi in his whole plan of trying to take over the Empyrean Inn, because he agrees with Saito agrees with Takatsumi's whole MO of, you know, having your bad memories is bad because of how much pain and suffering they cause you, and Saito completely 100% has the reason to feel that way because his life was just so fucking awful in Tokyo, the world that he was from, which was, I sincerely hope that, I don't know if we'll ever get a follow-up to whatever happened to him after the Empyrean Inn arc. I don't think we ever will, but I swear to God, Cygames, don't make this man go, just don't make this man go back to Tokyo, please. Please. Just let him continue to be like Amechi's, like a good cop for Amechi in peace. I mean, like, I think the good end for Saito would be he stays in Amechi and kind of like becomes like a not bad version of Takatsumi. like the person like Takatsumi was like supposed to be, where he's like a good guy who protects Amechi and cares about everyone and actually helps everyone, like, you know, deal with their trauma. And I just love Saito, man. He deserves so much better. Justice for Saito. Hashtag justice for Saito. Give him a card, give him a leader, give him a happy ending. He deserves it.
Off of that alone, Mono goes in S tier. Fantastic character. Her interacting with Urias is always a treat. She's a robot that talks in poems, and she has like the limiter that if she uses it, she could die. And so Urias thinks that's like really cool that, like, you know, she can fight like a level that it amuses him, and then she's just kind of like trying to defeat Baphomet. But she's the like romance between her and Urias, 10 out of 10. Great part of the story. Nicola.
Yep. We all love Mono for a reason. Easy S tier for anyone. I can think. If I would be shocked to ever meet anybody who wouldn't put Mono in S tier. She's just that great.
Nicola goes in S tier for me. He's really funny when he talks.
Oh yeah. Love Nicola. Can't wait to buy his Battle Pass later.
There's a lot of characters in S tier because there's a lot of characters that are just so good in the story. Every time Nicola talks to Ania, it is the funniest line of dialogue I've ever heard. This part
not Ania. I think he means Luna, but yeah.
Of the Guild Wars really brought it together for me. He is like the homeless Terminator, and Marlon has to feed him rocks, and then he has to feed Luna sandwiches, and then everyone's like, oh dude, Nicola could like destroy us, and he's like, I don't really want any trouble, and then like he kind of like fucks off. Funny character. I really loved all of his interactions. This is this Sekka or is this Sekka? No, yeah, this is Sekka. Sekka goes in A tier. She's one of the better characters in, she's actually probably the best character.
I think Sekka's a little overhyped, but I do really like Sekka. I think A is a good spot for her.
In Velsar. Loved her deck. She's like a fox. She's a 9-tailed fox, and her mom just basically keeps killing her because I guess the 9-tailed fox works like an amoeba where it branches off, and then if she like eats Sekka, like Sekka's like one tail of the 9-tailed fox until she kills her mom.
She's actually 5 tails. I think the whole point was like she's 5 tails and 9 tails, or formerly 9 tails, is only 4 tails. So that's why Sekka is ultimately able to beat her. Flair says Sekka by herself is just alright to good. Sekka with Drock specifically is an absolute riot. This is so true. I think all of the Velsar cast are best when they're interacting with and bouncing off each other.
And then she becomes the 9-tailed fox. But she's just kind of, it's kind of like alongside the Luna, where she's just kind of like, once her shit gets fixed, she's kind of just like a cute girl. Like a cute, like, you know, like a protect type of character. She's pretty funny, like, once she interacts with, like, Aluzard and, like, the main crew, like, later on in Velsar's story. Next up is Celine. I thought Celine was,
Selena. You forgot the A. It's not Celine. It's Selena.
B tier's pretty lonely, but Celine's not B tier. She's like A tier. Her and Miser are the ship. I mean, obviously we got the wedding card because they do officially get hitched at the end.
Wedding card. Oh, in Evolve. I'm like, wait, they didn't get a wedding card in digital. What are you talking about? And I'm like, oh, well, they got one in in Shadowverse Evolve. They in the 11th set, which is the Veil one. There is the ultra rare art variants for or ultimate rare art variants are for Miser and Selena are them in like wedding outfits, and the two arts, if you actually put the two cards like side by side, it's like a single picture that goes together. It's really cute.
Is an assassin for the church, so like, you know, Miser can't pull his gun on people, but Celine sure can. She goes around shooting a lot of people in the name of the church, and she's got like she lives at an orphanage or something, or she runs the orphanage with like a nun, and then the nun is like, Sister Celine, your new orders have come in, you must murder this person in the back alleys, and Celine just goes and does it. Pretty fun character. Sekka's mom, the nine-tailed fox, that's pretty D tier for me. She was there to die to Sekka. She's like a character in the story for the sole purpose of being an obstacle. Taketsumi, this guy's a pretty.
Yeah, I'm a little sad that Ninetales is kind of such a nothing character. I feel like there could have been, there was some really good potential with Ninetales, and they don't really do anything with it. She's kind of just there to be, you know, the villain for Sekka. Sadly.
Pretty C tier villain. He might even be D tier.
Dang, only C for Taketsumi. Yeah, this guy just doesn't like Amechi. Seiryo just doesn't like Amechi.
Where's Itsurugi? Yeah, Itsurugi's C tier. Yeah, I think Taketsumi's the same. Taketsumi goes to the Empyrean Inn. Basically, I forget what his past was, but he says, damn, everyone has these fucked up lives. What if they didn't? What if they just didn't remember? And then Itsurugi's like, no, Taketsumi, people should remember. And then Taketsumi gets the power to like mind wipe people, and then he gets overthrown.
Lumi's story says Taketsumi kind of lost his sanity once he got revived. Yeah, the Natera part of the final chapter with Taketsumi and Natera, that's like the least. It's not bad, but it's like the least interesting, and it's like the worst Taketsumi content. Like he's much better in the whole of the Empyrean Inn arc than he is in that one specific part. That part is kind of like a nothing. It's not bad, but it's like it almost feels unnecessary. Like it was kind of just there just so we could go back to Natera and, you know, have like Mono and Urias reunite for a bit. And be kind of a little bit of a breather between before the final fight with Nerva. Matabatter says, I still think the revived villains are like after images of the original. That would make sense, but that would mean that the Maisha that's currently with Cetus is not like a real Maisha. So hard to say. If they were like kind of like clones, recreations that Nerva made, that would make a lot of sense. But that would also mean our Maisha that's still hanging around is like a fake Maisha.
And dies, but he was supposed to be like Nerva's way to destroy the Empyrean Inn. And he was pretty like, he had a cool card, and it just like
trying to destroy it. Like Taketsumi was trying to do the opposite. I think what she just wanted was she just wanted to feed off like Taketsumi's like emotion that he was experiencing like throughout that whole thing. Nerva didn't want to destroy the place, and neither did Taketsumi. They had like other motivations, but yeah.
Near the end, it's I'll give him B tier. I'll give him B tier. I just didn't feel like, I felt like everything in the Empyrean Inn was so weak that.
Yeah, we can tell you don't like Empyrean Inn or Seiryo.
Suffered from it. He suffered from it. Oh, this bitch is F tier. Teresa?
What?
Teresa was one of Kratos' goons, but she was
a Teresa hater? Okay, let's hear him out.
They got a $5 VA for $4 for this bitch. I actually have a tab open for her because of this. So first, she has a big witch hat. If that's your thing, cool, she can be hot. But nothing can prepare you for the actual line deliveries from this character. Not from the actual story, but just know the story dialogue is delivered in the same cadence and voice as some of these voice lines.
Not bad, all things considered. Just what are you doing? I too was wrong.
I too was wrong. Actual worst VA performance ever. And
Yeah, Teresa's delivery on her lines it's better in the story, but for the leader lines, the delivery is very weird. It's better in the story, but the thing about it is her voice actress is, I forget her name, but she's also official in Genshin, and she's actually a really good voice actor, because official is hilarious. Official is very funny, and yeah. I actually, the fact he has Dragrand higher than Teresa is kind of blowing my mind, because Teresa is like a character who actually kind of matters in that part of the story, because she's the one who, like, she has like an actual relevant backstory where she was like, she got like kidnapped by like the people who are in like the Nerva cult, and they like did something to her that like corrupted her and her magic, and it was like very super traumatizing. So she's all like angry about that, and then she's the one who shows Elena that Asher is really a monster, and their whole thing is like a cult, and they're really the bad guys, and it's like one of the best scenes in that whole story. So that whole part of the story. So Teresa actually like has a purpose in the story. I think this guy just really hates her voice acting, and that's why she's that low, because otherwise there is it makes zero sense that she would be lower than Dragrand.
And you have to, like, if you are like me and you put this thing on autoplay and you kind of do other stuff while the story plays, miserable. This bitch was talking for like an hour, and I was like, oh my god, I actually have to hit skip on some of her dialogue. It's too painful. And then she got the battle pass leader, which is, I think, is the only battle pass I didn't buy. I didn't want her. Holy shit. Next up is Nerva. Nerva is the keeper from Maisha's world and from the inn and some other places. And then she ends up being like stronger than Nexus. She's pretty uninteresting. I don't know. She's pretty uninteresting because she's...
Come on, man. Nerva's like the big bad of the whole story. And I could see putting Nerva in this, like, early in the story, like when we're still, like, around, like, World Reaver or earlier. But, like, by the end of the story, Nerva deserves to be way higher, if you ask me. That's a bit of a trash take. Sorry, man. Cannot agree with you about that at all. Nerva is actually really very interesting by the end of the story, and especially with the like how she's ultimately defeated, I think is super fascinating. I really like the whole, like, because Nerva is just honestly just as a concept, Nerva is very interesting, because the whole thing about the Keepers is that they're not supposed to have, they're just like forces of nature. They're not supposed to have emotions. They're not supposed to feel or do anything other than, what they're like programmed to do, which is, clean up worlds that are just taking up space, because we need to make room in the multiverse, so new worlds can be created when there's, they're the dimensional cleanup crew, basically, and they're not supposed to serve any other purpose than that. But then Nerva was like this anomaly that gained like emotion and sentience, and decided that she just wanted to become like more and more powerful, and not in the way that you would normally think that an eldritch entity would like want to become that. Instead, she wants to like learn about humans and learn about like how like the way that humans use like the power of friendship to defeat gods, like as they do in like JRPG stories. She wants to harness that, and I think that is so interesting, and it makes Nerva such a like an interesting villain and concept for a character in like a JRPG type story like Shadowverse has. And where she ultimately ends up and the way she's defeated is just like super creative and interesting. And man, why you gotta do Nexus so dirty, man? Or not Nexus, Nerva. Why you gotta do Nerva so dirty, man? Nerva is a really great villain. she's not like my favorite villain in all of Shadowverse, but she's a fantastic one. She more than deserved the title of like the big bad of the whole game, honestly. And yeah, I would obviously rank her way much higher than D. I'm sad Seiryo thinks she's so boring. That's such a shame.
She's like an eldritch horror. She's supposed to be defeated, and so she talks in all caps, and it's not her motives, because like her motives are unclear, right? You don't think of her as like
what are you talking about? Her motives are very clear.
Don't think, wow, she's a cool villain. She's just kind of a thing there. Cetus goes in C tier. I don't care about Cetus. Cetus is under Maisha.
That's a common take, but not one I agree with. I like Cetus.
But he really has it down bad for Maisha. And then in the Dragon Ball GT part of the story, because Maisha dies in her world, but then the big bads are revived in the Dragon Ball GT arc, because it quite literally is that the last leg of the story. Basically, once the game was sunset, they did that. And Cetus then has this really fucked up fight against Maisha, where because he's supposed to defeat her with love, he's not there to kill her. He's there to, like, you know, reduce her will to fight. You have to fight a Maisha with 99 health. And I'm playing combo Latica, so I instantly lose on the story battle. And I'm like, wow, that's insane. I cannot believe this fight where I'm supposed to deck out the NPC. But yeah,
that fight was amazing and super thematically appropriate. I'm sorry you picked a bad deck for it, but that's not the game's fault.
He's like a soft-spoken giant is basically his thing.
Yeah, he seems like a big tough guy, but he's really just a softie, and he's very emotional, and he's just like, I think the whole thing with him and Maisha is like really sweet, and we love a man that says I can fix her. We love a man that looks at a person as horrible and irredeemable, as Maisha, and says I can fix her. I stand Cetus for that. I love Cetus. I would put him way higher than C, because he's just based like that. But a lot of people do sadly find Cetus kind of boring, so what can you do?
The Gentle Giant. Tsukikage, this guy is F tier as well. His thing is he likes to kill people. He is the evil Kagura. Where did Kagura go? Kagura went in D tier, yeah. This guy talks about killing.
He's sort of literally the evil Kagura.
So that's edgy and lame, so we put him in F tier, where he belongs. Next up is
I don't know if I'd be that harsh. Tsukikage kind of just like, he serves his purpose, and there's not a lot else to him, and that's kind of the point, and I don't know, I think he's funny. And Alex Lay's performance for him is just like, you can tell he's having a lot of fun. So I can't dislike Tsukikage. I think he's very entertaining, and it serves his purpose completely fine.
My favorite Titan, Vincent. He had the coolest card in digital. He has
Seiryo being a Vincent stan, we love to see it. Based.
10 out of 10 English VA. 10 out of 10 English VA.
10 out of 10 English VA who is still uncredited. We still don't know for 100% certain who voices Vincent, and that is so sad. I want to know so badly.
He is the Titan of Order. So he, like, basically runs the law enforcement of Revale. And his power is he can, like, he used it to, like, make his arms swords or something weird. I thought his power was to, like, basically be Lelouch. He tells you something, you gotta do it. Because he tells people to stop, and then they stop. And then he tells them to, like, die, and they die. Pretty cool.
Not quite. He has elemental power, elemental magic, and also he's like the, He literally does the silent status effect, where he just stops people from doing magic by telling them to shut up. that's his deal.
Cool. Everyone in Revale is cool. All of the Titans are sick. So yeah, he goes up there too. Next up is
putting all the Titans together at the top of S tier. Absolutely base, my guy. I can forgive you for your many transgressions on this list just because of that.
Delia, she infiltrates the Academy arc, the one with Cornelius and Lilith, and all of those people. I think she's like a solid A tier. Nah, S.
Oh.
S tier is a little inflated because they make so many good characters in the story.
I do think Verdilia comes out the best out of all of the Lane Crest characters. What a shocker. She's the protagonist. Of course, she, comes out the best of what is a very, her and Lilith come out the best in what is a very problematic arc. But, I don't think I'd put her in S. I think I'd put her in A. But, she and Lilith are like the two characters who I think were, mostly not completely screwed by Lane Crest just being a gigantic disaster of an arc.
Can't be hating on any of them. She infiltrates the academy because... Why does she infiltrate the academy again? I actually could not tell you.
She didn't infiltrate it, she just got a job there.
I remember that
she was a regular employee.
She was from the forest with Castell, and that she went to the academy after stealing the forest god that lived within the forest that they were going to try to give to Castell. And I forget what she was trying to do, but she ends up teaching Lilith, helping Amaryllis, and then when war breaks out, does she even fight the headmaster? She reports to him. Oh my god, what was that part of the story? Maybe it was A tier because I can't remember what her motives were.
Yeah, that's a better place to put her, I think.
A tier because I have dementia, but that's okay. This is the burglar that kills Luna's parents. This guy is probably more prevalent in the story than some of these other people. He goes in D tier because he just keeps appearing. There's a part of the story where they're put in, imagine Gurren Lagann, the dream sequence. But Luna's dream sequence is the burglar keeps killing her parents. No, wait, the burglar doesn't keep killing her parents? She keeps killing the burglar as he breaks into the house. That's what it is. He keeps breaking into the house, and so there's 5...
The fact that burglar is even on this list is kind of hilarious, not gonna lie.
Chapters in a row where this burglar is on screen. He's like, ah! And then you just kill him. Actually an unreal thing that they did. It's like the endless eight of storytelling. Tetra...
Dude, don't compare Luna's arc to Endless Eight. That's not fair. That's not fair. And yeah, Lumi Story says his lines are funny. The burglar, yeah, the burglar is the voice performance is really funny. I believe it's Lucian Dodge, who is also he was never any main story characters, but he's been a bunch of cards. He's been a couple of minor story characters. He's a really good voice actor. I kind of hope they give him a main story character or something in World Beyond.
Tetra's an F tier. Holy shit. There's a couple characters that
Excuse me.
have to do with being sad about somebody dying, but for an unbelievable amount of time, and she goes there with Isabelle, where a lot of her dialogue is so she's leading the robot faction, right? We've talked about Iolon before. But she's telling everyone else that they have backups of other people because one of the robots, J2, has recently died, and the other robots are oh dude, J2 was great, man. Tetra, can we bring back J2? And she's like, oh yeah, we got the backup data. We just need to upload it into something or something. We need some time. And then when she starts being pressed on it, she starts freaking out because she doesn't actually have the backup data. There is no bringing this robot back, and so then Isabelle had been freaking out about Kyle for 3 chapters, so then they both try to close their arcs together. The problem is that Isabelle is... I've been dealing with Isabelle for too long, and now Tetra is tied to Isabelle, and that brings her back down to F tier together. Twice.
Okay, so I can understand disliking Tetra for the shitty thing that Tetra does, which is lie to everybody in the robot army that they can be revived with backup data when they can't. Extremely shitty thing for her to do. However, I don't think that makes her completely irredeemable, because it's very, and this is the whole point of her story, is the fact that she is a robot who has only just recently, become sentient and has developed emotions, and she doesn't really understand how to deal with those emotions and how to make the right choices while feeling and having emotions. She is lying to everyone because she doesn't understand her emotions or how to deal with them. So and she realizes this and admits this, and people are willing, and because the other robots are in like the same scenario, they're willing to like, they understand she didn't do this because she's a bad person. She's just struggling with, you know, having emotions and being sentient, which is not a thing that she's naturally, that she wouldn't even naturally have. Like the fact that they even have emotions is like an anomaly. It's like, it's not even a thing that's supposed to happen. So I get disliking Tetra because of that, but to put her in F tier because of that, and also just because she's tied to Isabelle, that's so unfair. That's just so unfair. Like, this is why Tetra lost the poll twice, you guys. Justice for Tetra. Be nice to Tetra. She's not bad. She did a bad thing, but that doesn't make her bad, okay? Mistakes were made. She's not irredeemable. Apologize to my daughter. Apologize to my daughter now, Seiryo. Apologize to my daughter.
Weiss is solid D tier for me. He unfulfilling villain.
Yeah, Weiss is wasted potential. If you just look up wasted potential in the encyclopedia, you find a picture of Weiss.
You think he's gonna be the mastermind in this academy arc because he's like the shady guy. He's got like a little something going on, and you know, he leaves you uneasy because he seems evil. And then he kidnaps Castell or something. I think did he kill students or something? I don't remember if he killed students. Even if he did, I don't think they matter.
Yeah, he did. He killed what's her face, the girl that we open up the Lane Chris story with, who's like the protagonist for like 2 minutes before she dies.
They weren't named students, so you don't.
Alicia, I think was her name.
Really, I don't care. So that's what matters. But yeah, he kidnaps Castell, you're told, and then Castell comes out.
He didn't kidnap Castell. He just like, Castell was like, I want to go find Verdelia, and Weiss was like there, and like, I'll take you to Verdelia, and he did that, and then he told her about Nerva, and that's how Castell got powers from Nerva for a little bit.
And it's like, Verdelia's like, Weiss, what did you do to her? And then Weiss goes, oh no, this girl is just insane, Verdelia. You don't even know. I didn't do anything to her. She was Joker all along. And then I think he died. I don't remember what actually happened to Weiss, but he just felt like
it's even unclear whether or not Verdelia actually killed him. It's kind of maybe implied that he died, but we honestly, it's never clear. That's just how much of a mess the Lane Chris ending is.
It was like kind of unfulfilling during the story.
Yeah. The Weiss it's so sad because I love his design. I love his personality. I love his voice acting. And I love the whole idea behind him of him being a seraph. Like, that was such a cool and interesting new world building thing. But then, you know, of course, Lane Chris had to die for Worlds Beyond, so we never get to do anything with it. And then Weiss is just killed off? Question mark? Maybe? We never see him again after that. He seemed real dead, but a bit ambiguous, yeah, says Lumi Story, yeah. But he's just, like I said, you just look up wasted potential and you'll find a picture of him. It's so sad.
Zessel Wenchi. This guy goes in F tier for me.
This is a personal attack. Seiryo Tennan, this is a personal attack. Do you realize that my name is Cecil Nova Starlight? Sir, the gloves are coming off. You can see here, the gloves have come off. I challenge you, sir, to a Shadowverse match for the honor of my kin. But though I will hear out your reasoning for this transgression.
Kind of was like a driving force for the plot. And then Itsurugi
what happened here? Hold on.
hate these characters that like to kill and just laugh about killing. Next to Tsukikage, they're the same type of character. Zessel Wenchi is like a homunculus made by Ice Shillendrig.
Okay, he's not a homunculus. He was a regular person who, we don't know anything about what Zessel was like before he got enhanced by Heisei, but he was a regular person at some point before Heisei turned him into basically a magical entity that doesn't have one singular body, and instead possesses and affects other people.
And he's like an undying killing machine, and that's all he does. He's just
wrong. I will explain to you why you are wrong after I defeat you in our battle.
He just likes it. So I think that's a little edgy, a little bad.
He's not. Just... I'll save it. Save it for your inevitable defeat.
Next up is Valdane. I'm gonna put Valdane in next to Baleon. I'm gonna put him in B tier for me. He is like, Baleon's the light of the forest. Valdane is the curse of the forest. Everything he...
Lumi Story says, after our battle, you change your cringe take, sir. Yes, exactly that.
touch withers and rots. That's the type of character he is. He was like cursed at birth to kill anything he touches, and kind of like Urias, where he's not actively killing people. Or he's not, I don't feel like he's actively destroying things because he's got like Meowskers with him and stuff. It's just like he's like the misunderstood guy, but he still, at the end of the day, does want like Natera to be safe. Just a little misunderstood, but maybe he could go up to A tier, but B tier's looking a little anemic, so I wanted to put one more person in there.
I like Valdane. So I like Valdane because while he is like a really like posh, edgy guy, and just like kind of like a stuck-up dick in a lot of ways, he deep down he really does have a soft side, and he's like his persona is kind of like a front almost. It's kind of like his way of like he almost like kind of admits it himself. It's almost like a mask that he puts on to try and to really to make Baleon look better, and to kind of like to make it so Baleon can seem more like a hero. So he acts like more villainous, specifically to prop up Baleon. But I like that his relationship with Meowskers is really sweet too. Yeah, I like that Valdane kind of has this like edgelord persona, but like that's almost like not really him. He's actually really like a nice guy deep down who kind of just wants to like belong in his family and be accepted, and you know, I really like where the story with him and Baleon ultimately ends up. So I really like Valdane. A lot of people hate Valdane, not necessarily for the story, more for his card and how he was one of the most overtuned cards in Shadowverse history, who was viable throughout his entire time in rotation, which was just absolutely nuts, completely insane. There was never another card like OG Valdane, for good reason. Yeah, I'd place him higher than a. I think I can accept B. I'll accept B.
And I know Viridian Magna's not going in B tier. She's probably going in C tier. God of Natera, fuel reserves. She comes up when Baphomet appears. I think Baphomet. She gives like power to Erica and Arisa to basically protect Natera, and then I think she like kind of goes back to sleep or dies or something. Like she's not in the story after like Baphomet taps into her power. So I think it's just because she doesn't do a whole lot. She's just kind of like one of those god characters you're supposed to care about. She goes in D tier with all the other uninterested characters that aren't like.
Viridian Magna's backstory is really interesting, but in terms of like her actual like role in the story, she doesn't have much of one other than just like being a boss character, pretty much like being a boss fight. I love her design, I love her voice, and her backstory is really cool and interesting, but yeah, as far as her role in the story, that's very that itself is fairly underwhelming. So I can understand this placement, but I wouldn't put her in D. I think she's more of a C kind of character for that.
Actively hurting the story, like everything in F tier was like horrendous to deal with. My story experience.
How dare you say this about my daughter?
Experience was ruined when they were on the screen. Everything in D tier, my eyes would glaze over a little when they were on the story. So yeah, that's it. Long ass video. Talked a lot about the story. This is the official list. Let me know what you guys agree with. Let me know who your favorite character is in the story, and let me know if you want more story-based content. And if you're
alright, that's it. That's the video. Seiryo, Tennan, I will rate your I declare your tier list a mix of both based and cursed. Actually, there's some it's mostly pretty based, I would say, but there are some parts that are cursed in a way that I cannot forgive, and one of them being your placement of my kin Zesselvench. So I will see you in our battle, sir. Good day.